Everybody, it's Blair with the Badass Records podcast, welcoming you in for another episode. Pleased to share that this week's guest is Lukas of Sentimental Creatures. You can find their stuff on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, and where you stream. Podcast episodes air Thursdays, also where you stream and on YouTube. Socials are Twitter and Instagram. Websites, badassrecordspodcast.com, and hollering at me, put badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com in that to slot. Hope you're finding a dose of positivity in part of each day. I appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. So, like I said, I think this will be episode 157 of Badass Records Podcast. Lukas, hanging out. How you doing?
Doing good, man.
Appreciate you being here. And I, would not have judged you at all if you had opted to ask for a reschedule because of the weather and the roads. But since you didn't, hey, kudos.
That's what we get for being in Missouri. We're some road warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about, at 5 o'clock, we got notice that no school again tomorrow. And it's just like, dude, there's no buses. Most folks that go to the school live nearby. And it's cold out, but it's where we live. And when I was, old man, when I was your age, seriously, you had to time your morning, in such a way that when it was cold out or there was snow or whatever, that you would stay inside till the last possible minute and then go out and hit the bus stop.
Yeah.
And just, I remember standing there with my sister, literally being a goofball, shaking the stop sign at where the bus picked us up, and snow's falling off of the streets. And it's anyway. But yeah, so I oftentimes think, and I don't know if this is true or not, that there's a lot less snow, generally speaking, here than there was when I was growing up.
I definitely feel that way too.
Really?
This has been the first snow that I've actually felt has kind of almost lived up to how I feel like it used to be. But I also got to catch myself every now and then, because it's we were a lot smaller when we were experiencing that snow. So maybe now that we're adults, it just doesn't feel the same.
True.
But I don't know. I just always felt like it was something crazy happening anytime that it snowed.
Yeah.
And there's always something to do. And it was just...
I don't really recall too many non-white Christmases.
Yeah.
And now it's leap year, or we once every 7 years we get actual. But I went out what day? Saturday, and yeah, it was late after. Anyway, I went out twice to shovel. The first time, there was enough that you keep putting it off and everything's going to be heavy and you're going to kick your ass before you finish. So I went out while it was still coming down, and, I got the driveway and then a big long stretch of sidewalk, a little one this ways, and then the sidewalk up to the porch. I'm 50, and it's, I've been here for 12 years, and I remember one other year in 12 or 13 years where there was a snowfall like this, and I remember the feeling of finishing that shoveling. And I shoveled my mom's driveway all the time, and I'm kind of a lunatic about it in this house for two reasons. One is that I'll be squeegeeing water out of my garage for probably 3 weeks, and that's just because of what I bring in with my car. And that's, we come in there and right in the kitchen, and it's just there's a dog. if I can try to eliminate mess coming in and try to deal with the mess that we make once we're in here. So that's one piece. And the other piece is that I would never shovel on time. Or like I wouldn't be up early enough to shovel before my mom left for work. So inevitably you get the 2 tire tracks down the driveway and then it freezes. And it's like, you know, you could have potentially been shooting hoops for a week and a half because everything's melted except for those 2, you know. Anyway, I don't know if it's a global warming thing or we were littler or what the deal is, but I'm all about this. I think it's great. I'm always going to choose cold over hot because I feel like you can warm up a room or put on a hoodie.
You can control it.
Yeah.
It doesn't become miserable.
The heat is, and you know, it's the worse, the older it gets worse as you get older. It just feels unbearable, and just every home and every vehicle just cranking to cool it a little bit. And it's like, this can't be good for the atmosphere or our mental well-being. And then, like, you know, body parts sticking together, that never bothered me as a kid. I'm riding my bike everywhere, but now I'm like, it is oppressive. But you know, if you take out the safety piece of folks driving around and being maniacs, I think it's fun. I think it insulates in a way, at least in the terms of sound. When you go outside after a snowfall, and then also temperature-wise, it insulates in a way, and I don't know. I think vibe-wise, city-wise, it insulates that way too. Anyway,
Snow's cool, ice isn't.
No, absolutely. And I play hockey Wednesday nights in Independence,
right on.
and have. I've been back in Kansas City for 25 years, and I've played at least once a week. And I've kind of always been in this area, and there's 3-4 facilities, all 25, 30 minutes. You know, nothing's close. So I've had some nights where I've like,
just put your skates on and
see you in 2 days.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple times, not on the highway, thankfully, but just kind of navigating side streets and whatnot, where even a main street once, like, have lost control of my car.
Yeah.
And that is terrifying. Even, you know, at 10 o'clock at night with 0 other cars, and you got phone poles and mailboxes and street lights. And anyway, appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sentimental Creatures. Lucas, Caleb, Sarah, Isaiah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I saw the 4 names, but I feel like a couple of the IG pics that I looked at, it seemed like there was only 3 people, so I wasn't entirely sure if it was
so Caleb and Sarah are together.
Okay.
They're in a relationship. But when we started the band at the very end of 2023, we were playing at Skate Bar in St. Joe. I'm sure you've heard of the Skate Bar in Kansas City.
I've done 4 on-location episodes.
Oh, awesome.
Not in this room. One was at a tattoo parlor in New York. One was at the Aztec Shawnee Theater in Shawnee. One was at a place called Perry Farm to Fork in Perry, Kansas, out beyond Topeka. And 4 was OG Skate Bar location.
Yeah, that place was really special. I'm so thankful that I got to witness, you know, even a fraction of what happened there, because
I mean, they had shows all of the time.
Yeah, it was like every night there was something going on. There was new people there all the time. Everybody that came there was always really cool and supportive, no matter where they were from. I got to open for people that were outside of the state that were really cool that I got to meet. And it was a good experience because it was so many different types of people that it kind of helped you grow in different ways at the same time. But at that time, it was right when they were about to shut down the St. Joe one and move to Kansas City, so we were all bummed out. I got to play there, and I got to do a show in the first week that they opened it.
Oh, dang.
And I reached out to them whenever I heard that they were closing down. I was like, hey, if you guys have any openings for anything, I would really just love to get a chance to just play here one last time before it's gone.
Yeah.
and it was just me and Isaiah at that point.
Okay.
We've been friends. Flashback. We've been friends for like 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
We met at an open mic in Atchison, Kansas, at a guitar store called Muddy River Guitars. That used to be out there. There's one in Kansas City now, but the one in Atchison had like a fire or something, so we had to close it down.
Yeah, we were talking about audio at episode 70. Jesse and what's his wife's name? Skate bar? It's not Sarah. I should remember, but I don't.
I'm so bad with
Nevertheless, I was talking to them about doing an episode, and he said, we come down to KC almost every Sunday, so if we can do a Sunday. And I was like, sure. Is it both of you? He's like, well, yeah, it's both of us. So did not hustle out and purchase another mic. I instead borrowed a couple stools and said, I'm going to need you guys to do your best to lean and turns out they're like two of the most soft-spoken humans ever. So the sound is not great. But then I went up there and did one with Danny Phillips, Dr.
Really
47, cool. Who was, he asked me to come up there. And anyway, so Sarah and Isaiah are together.
No, Sarah and Caleb are together.
Sarah and Caleb are together, and Skate Bar. You brought up Skate Bar because
Isaiah and I, it was the end of 2023, and he also does like mixed martial arts, like fighting like that, and he was kind of getting to the point. We've been trying to build a band for all this time since we met. We had a couple that we had started to practice, and everything just didn't end up working out. And he had an opportunity to kind of keep progressing at doing the fighting, and he was trying to decide whether he wanted to stay with music or pursue the fighting more, because both were kind of building to a point where it was,
something's got to give, time-wise.
And I had heard back from Skate Bar that we got a slot to be able to play, not the last night that they're open, but the night before. And I was like, dude, let's go out on, let's do one last show together. And if you want to come back, we'll get it figured out. If you end up changing your mind, I'll be here. But I want to do one more with you before, if you change your mind. And he's like, of course. He hadn't got to play. He hadn't even got to go to Skate Bar yet.
Okay.
So he was really excited about that too, because I just, I'd been talking to him about it. He'd heard everybody else talking about it. It was like a hidden gem of St. Joe. Like everybody's talking about it, but only some people had seen it. So I'm really, like I said, I'm really privileged to have gotten to play there a couple times and gotten to see it.
Yeah, I went up there on a Saturday, and I was supposed to be there at 2. I think I was about a half hour late. But I was like, there is nothing happening in this town. Like, where is everybody? And then I got there, and they were probably short on sleep, having closed the night before, and they coming back early to let me come in and do this. And they're like, yeah, this is St. Joe. I was like, damn.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool hidden things, but you got to know where to look to find them.
Sure.
But once you find them, it's like, wow, like where's this been?
So the two of you met at this Muddy
Rivers out in Atchison, Kansas. Okay. And that's where Isaiah's from.
Yeah.
But 7 years later, we're playing this last show at Skate Bar. We spend every piece of time spare that we had going into it, just getting together,
the two of
practicing. You. Yeah, he was just coming over to my house every day.
And who's playing what?
Isaiah plays lead guitar.
Okay.
I play rhythm and I do vocals.
Okay.
But he was coming over every day. We're working our tails off trying to get this just as good as we could, because from what we knew, this was going to be our last time playing together, possibly.
So does that mean that he leaned in the direction of mixed martial arts instead? And
I support him either way, because I know how passionate he is about both of them, and I just, he's like a brother to me, and I want him to, be happy and be successful at whatever he goes after.
So did he relocate?
So he actually lives in KC.
Okay.
But his gym is in Independence. But yeah, we played that show, and it was just packed because everybody's wanting to come to all the shows before they closed.
Yep.
And we had been I've always tried to be pretty aggressive with our social media, trying to get out and let people know when we're doing stuff and where it's at and how to find it. And it was just such a great experience being there. Everybody there fully supported us. There's a lot of people there, and eventually at the end of the set, we were talking to everybody like you do after the show's over, try to do some networking, and then Sarah walks up to us, and she's like, "Hey, I really like
What were
your
you guys
set."
billed as for this show?
I think that was our first show that it actually said Sentimental Creatures
Okay,
on it.
so this. Okay, gotcha.
So we had played like 2 or 3 shows that it was still under me because I was doing a lot of solo stuff.
Yeah.
Before we started the band, and as I would reach out to the venues to book stuff, they'd just go ahead and put my name on it. But then when I get there, it started to turn into Lukas and Isaiah. And then once we figured out what we wanted to do as the band name, I think we did a show at the original Rendezvous location, and that was the first one that it was like Sentimental Creatures. That's what we were calling ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think that one at Skate Bar was the first one that it was actually billed as Sentimental Creatures and everything.
So Sarah comes up to you after?
And she had a camera. Or it was like a phone with a mic on it. So I thought she's a photographer or videographer. So I'm talking to her, and I'm like, "Hey, what'd you think of the set?" And she's telling us this thing, and that she just really liked it. It was great. And I thought she's a videographer, so I was like, "Okay, do you want to exchange information?" Like, just because usually whenever there's a photographer, videographer, you want to get that figured out. So if they got anything,
send me what you got.
Yeah, we can work together to try to build each other up with that. And I didn't even know that she played the drums.
Okay.
Until the next day. And I'm looking at her Instagram account, and I see she has a video of her at a Sheila E. concert. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, okay, she's got to have some interest in drums. So I messaged her, and I was like, "Oh, you like Sheila E.?" She's like, "Oh, yeah." And she was talking about playing the drums in it. And I was like,
so what was she coming up to you for after that show?
Just to tell us that she enjoyed the set.
Nice.
And,
okay.
And she liked our songs. Because
cool.
we're trying to be mainly just an original band, and that makes things a lot harder.
When you were gigging solo, were you doing any covers? Or?
I did more covers just because it's such longer sets when you're by yourself a lot of times, or like if you're playing at a coffee shop or something, you're there for like 2 or 3 hours.
Are you mixing up? Do you like?
Yeah,
is it always the same covers? Or are you throwing in new stuff?
We're really blessed to. We call it like when we're at practice, we'll be like, "Oh, I gotta throw up," but that's like our like word of like, "Hey, I'm about to write something cool," or like somebody accidentally played something.
Sure.
And then next thing you know, like a lot of our practices, we get kind of derailed because somebody will accidentally do something cool while we're like tuning or switching between songs, and then we write 4 or 5 songs in a practice, and we had to make a thing where every single practice we have a room mic set up on one side, a camera with a microphone set up on the other side, and then usually one of us has a voice memo on our phone going at the same time too, because we were just losing these songs. Because it would just be in the moment and nobody'd want to break it. And, you know, I'm freestyling lyrics while we're doing it. Isaiah's just playing these crazy licks. Sarah's doing her thing. And it was just, we wrote so many cool songs, but we also lost so many.
Sure.
And it got to the point where we were just like, okay, no more of this. Like, before we even plug in, we're turning all of this recording stuff on just to be safe.
Yeah.
So we don't lose anything. And we have some unlisted stuff, like just for the band that we can send it to, so we can take notes on it and send it to each other. Like, "Oh, this was cool. That sucked," you know, like stuff like that. But it's Isaiah and I are both pretty self-trained. We both have done some guitar lessons. He's done a lot more than me. But we kind of had our own language at the beginning, and he was the first person I ever met that kind of understood that with me. So me and him have a writing chemistry that I just haven't really had with anybody else before. And I think that's one of the reasons we've become so close, is just we really understand each other in that sense.
And what was this at this Muddy River place in Atchison? It was a music store?
Yeah, it was a guitar shop. Both
of you are shopping, or he works there? Or?
So that was where I got my start. I played my first show there. Me and my buddy Bryce, we had a band called the Midnight Martyrs.
Okay.
And he was a senior, I was a freshman, and he was one of my best friends. And he was about to get sent on this mission trip to New York after he graduated.
Spread the gospel?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he had to learn Korean because he was going to be in like Koreatown, and he was going to be teaching people the gospel in Korean. So
Okay.
like his last couple months of his senior year, he's like learning all this Korean and everything, and he had a stricter family, and then I'm trying to do all this stuff, playing shows, but we ended up working it out to where we could like sneak him out, and then me and him got in a car, and my mom drove us to Atchison, and we never got to
And
practice.
that's not down the street.
Yeah, that was it was from Gower pretty much. It was a little bit of a drive, but my mom and dad were both musicians, so she understands.
Yeah.
When you get the shot, you gotta
Yeah.
take it. And it was crazy how we got the gig, because we'd always just kind of like talk, because he had kind of started playing guitar and so did I, but I had just started to kind of learn to play and sing,
Yeah.
and I had walked into Muddy Rivers just on accident. I was there with my grandparents and they were shopping, and I was like, a guitar store, cool. And it was like this furniture store with a staircase, and then when you got to the upper level, it was just all these like Gibsons and Guilds, and just
All carried up a spiral
it was
staircase.
so awesome, man. It's so awesome. And I walked in there and I was talking to them, and they're just so cool, so supportive. And they're like, "Hey, we have an open mic every month. You should come to the next one." And I was like, "Really? Like you want me to?" And I was like, and I was freaking out, because I was like, this just happened, This is the first chance that I got.
Meant to be here.
And we left. I bought like a tin of guitar picks, like Johnny Cash guitar picks, because
Okay.
I was so obsessed with Johnny Cash at that point, because I was teaching myself to sing and play with Johnny Cash, because he does a lot of rhythm stuff.
Yeah.
So doing like Folsom Prison Blues, just playing the
Sure.
like how he put the dollar bill on the guitar to do the
Okay.
I was doing that just so I could learn how to do rhythm while
Sweet.
singing.
Are you a fan? Have you seen Walk the Line?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's I love Johnny. I'm
Yeah.
not like an honor student of his discography because it's ginormous.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of what I know is hits and hits adjacent,
sure.
but I love 100% of it. And I saw it once in the theater. I'm pretty sure it's the only time I saw it, and I left like not knowing how to feel because of the depiction of him with some of his tougher times. And so all of that came up, I felt the same way seeing the Doors movie, but all of that has come up recently with the Timothée Chalamet, Complete Unknown Bob Dylan movie. I mean, people are raving about it, so eventually I'm going to go see it, probably by myself.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't, besmirch one of my beloved artists.
Yeah, it's always scary whenever that stuff comes up. But Johnny Cash was, I grew up around all kinds of different music from my grandparents and my parents and everything, and Elvis and Johnny Cash were just
Cool.
always there since I was a toddler.
Awesome. Good job,
And-
parents and grandparents.
Yeah,
Seriously.
they're my mom and my dad are a lot to thank for everything that I have musically, not just from the genetics, but just from everything that I was exposed to as I grew up. And
So they hit you up for this open mic.
yeah, so they were like, yeah, you should come out to this open mic. I'm freaking out, but I'm trying to be cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I'll see if I'm free.
I'll check my calendar. Like, just trying to be cool, because I was like 14 or 15, and my grandparents like came and got me, and they're like, oh, this is cool. I didn't know this was here, and I was freaking out. And we went to this grocery store that they used to have, and I was like freaking out in the truck when we pulled up, and I was like, I gotta call Bryce. I just got our first show. This is gonna be crazy. I call him, and I was like, dude, we're playing a show. I don't care if like you can't make it. This is happening. And he's just like, no way. Like, how did you do that? I was like, I don't know even what I did. it just happened.
Doesn't matter.
And it was we didn't get to practice at all. We had texted back and forth of I knew how to play kind of Folsom Prison. He knew how to play Heroes by David Bowie.
Nice.
And then I had one song that I had written.
Can
that-
he do that sustain?
Neither one of us could play guitar very well at all, honestly.
Okay.
It was just, like very cowboy chordy, very, it was very early for both of us
Sure.
in guitar, But just
But
the
man,
thought of playing in front of people, like,
you knock that out your first time in front of people, in front of a mic at 14. Like the rest of it, I mean, whatever. It's
but yeah, it was a trip, and I, uh, shoot, but I was so nervous because I was like, I could totally mess up, and this opportunity just popped up in front of me. I don't want to mess this up.
right.
And I had this thing that I'd snuck out from a party. Like, it was like one of the first parties I went to in high school. And I didn't really go to parties in high school, but I was just, you first start kind of experimenting when you get in there. And at some point, I got this, like, water bottle full of whiskey.
Oh,
Or
boy.
something. And I was like, that would be rock and roll.
Oh, man.
And it wasn't even full. It was like a water bottle like this, and there was like this much in it. And I was like, like my mom's driving me, so I poured it into a Coke can, and like nobody knew about it, and I drank that. And of course, I'm like a kid, so I'm just like super lightweight.
Yeah.
And I drank that, and then I'm sitting in the back of the car with my guitar. Bryce is sitting in the passenger seat. My mom's driving, and I'm just like, what's happening right now?
Oh, boy.
And we get there, and it's like starting to wear off, but I'm like, why did I do that? Like, that was so stupid. That was so stupid.
Did you get sleepy?
Yeah. I was just like, why did I do that? And like, my mom's trying to take pictures of us and everything, and I'm looking at, and I told Bryce, and he was just laughing at me. He's like, you're an idiot. Like, why did you do that? And I was like, it's like what they did in the movies.
Right.
And like, I hardly ever eat or drink anything besides like water or like tea or anything now, just because like I want to be the best I can, because that show sucked.
Oh, no.
It was so bad, but it was because it was the first time I would ever. And we also did Classic by MKTO, which is like a pop song from the 2010s.
Okay.
And I was obsessed with that song for some reason. It's a good catchy pop song. But yeah, we had like a 4 or 5 song set, and everybody there, like, I knew that it sucked, but like we were just having so much fun with it. Just actually, like, I couldn't believe it was my life. I couldn't believe that, people weren't like throwing stuff at me and everything. And there was like a drummer there that I'd never met before, but he like grabbed this chair and he started playing the drums for us on the chair with like his wedding ring in his fist.
Wow.
And then there was like 3 other singers there, and they got up there and plugged their guitars in, and like they saw that we were having a hard time, and they started helping us out playing the songs. And then after we finished our set, they brought us back up there, and they're like, hey, let's try this out. And they put the stuff up, and they like let me sing with the guy, and he showed me kind of coached me a little bit right there. And I was like, this is how it's supposed to be. And and it was so cool, and everybody was so supportive that I was hooked on it.
So this is you and Bryce as the Midnight Martyrs.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many more gigs did the two of you play?
That was the only one that me and Bryce ever played together. After that,
he went to talk Jesus in New York.
He had to go to New York, and he was out there for 4 years.
Dang. That's a lot of gospel.
Yeah. It was hard because like he couldn't talk. Like he could only email like once a month.
What?
Yeah, it was like a.
Are you supposed to be shut off from the world so you're focused on your thing?
Yeah, it was some communication deal like that, but we would email like once a month, and I'd be like, dude, I'm playing another open mic. It's, I met this guy named Isaiah, and he plays guitar. And Isaiah, I go in, this is like 3 or 4 later, and Isaiah eventually ended up working at Muddy Rivers, which is even cooler.
So that's where the open mic was.
Yeah,
because you were shop. Yeah,
it was in their shop, and but I'm sitting there, and I was like telling the story with Isaiah because it's just funny to hear both of our perspectives of it. But he walks in, he plugs in this bright red guitar. I forget what kind it was. He remembers all the details of this, but he plugged it in. He starts playing Thunderstruck.
Oh, wow.
By AC/DC, but he didn't sing. He just played the whole song front to back. But he started off and the amp was like a little too loud, but instead of stopping, he just like played through it. and it was so cool because I was like, he knows that whole song front to back. I was like, that's sick. And, I went on, he heard me do my Johnny Cash thing, he heard me play a couple of my songs. And then I was walking around talking to people, and then eventually we walked up to each other. I was like, hey, man, that was really good. Nice to meet you, everything, blah, blah, blah. And we started talking about music, and then one of us brought up Steve Vai, and we just hit it off after that. And then we started talking about the 1975, and that's what just blew up our friendship.
Steve Vai.
Yeah,
Wow.
Steve Vai, and then the 1975, and like Bryan Adams,
Okay.
Prince.
Nice.
Just, we have a lot of similar music opinions, but we also have a lot of conflicting music opinions.
Sure.
Because he's very particular about who he listens to, but the people that we agree on very heavily.
What Steve Vai album are you familiar with?
I think Tender Surrender.
Okay.
This is the one that we were talking about.
Okay.
That's my favorite Steve Vai album.
The one that I have, thankfully, I still have most of my cassette collection. I sold many through the years to buy newer ones or different ones. I don't remember the name. It's like a purplish cover, and he's standing. It's Love and War, perhaps. But there's a track on that record. For the Love of God, I think it's called. Do you know that track?
I would if you played it.
Okay.
Steve Vai songs are hard for me to pick up the name.
So this
relate the
this
name
record
to.
has like a little skit in it where there's a teacher and today's show and tell and little Stevie Vai brought his guitar.
Oh yeah.
And he gets up there and just thrashes and she's like, turn it down, you know. But this, For the Love, I believe it's called For the Love of God, is just a solo, the whole tune, and it's 7 minutes. I mean, it opens up and it just soars. It's fucking magical.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of that song, a voice comes on and goes, walking the fine line between pagan and Christian. It's the weirdest. I think that's the sequence.
Yeah, his records are a trip, man.
Yeah, there's one on there, I think, called Little Green Martians, and it's just this alien kind of conversation sound. But anyway, so you and Bryce becomes you and Isaiah for some gigs.
Yeah, so we actually hadn't played together because of just extreme circumstances. So Isaiah didn't have a car, and plus, he's in Atchison, I'm out in Gower, so that's like 45 minutes an hour.
Okay.
But over the course of the next couple years, like as he's a year older than me, I think. So he graduated before I did, and over the next couple years, I'd go out to Muddy Rivers and we'd just see each other because he'd be working or something. We'd jam out while we were there, make a couple videos. He came out to my dad's house in Kansas City once, and we recorded some stuff on the computer. But we didn't actually play our first show together until 2023 when they did a revival festival for Lake Contrary in St. Joe, just outside of St. Joe. Really, really amazing, interesting history of that area. I started to learn about it from my grandparents, and then I hyper-focus on stuff sometimes, and I just dove into it, and there's this whole forum online. If you look up Lake Contrary St. Joe, it's got all the years chronologically of the history with newspaper clippings and photos, and at one point in time, the second tallest roller coaster in the world was there.
Really?
Yeah, it's so cool, but so many people don't know about it because there was a flood and then a fire, and then after that, they just decided to give up on it. But it was really pretty lake. I got to see it when I was younger because I used to play baseball, City League baseball, and they did a draft, and the team I got drafted onto, we didn't have a field to practice on, and one of the kids on the team lived in Lake Contrary, and he's like, well, there's this abandoned baseball field in the park. We could do that, and we got a tiller, and we bought the bases, and we literally Field of Dreams did, and built our practice field, and it was such a cool memory because nobody had any phones. I'm thankful to be able to kind of be the last generation that didn't have smartphones sucking your life for the entirety of it. I enjoy the leisure of it when it comes to distribution, social media, marketing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But just the life suck of social media is just draining sometimes.
Yeah, my son is 11 right now, and he was by they were supposed to come back. They come back on Sundays, and she had a sleepover with a bunch of girls, and they were up till frickin' 5. And then the weather was sort of still happening, and she had a ton of homework that, of course, she put off till the end of Christmas break. But point being, our 11-year-old son, at the right around this time of the evening, his mom texted me and was like, he's absolutely miserable because he hadn't been outside or played with anybody for a day.
That's
and
good
I was
parenting.
like, what?
That's good parenting.
Well, but it's like, sure, but it's also like, I have no idea how many days like that I spent in my youth. And that's where you figure out how to tolerate boredom, and he doesn't have that. He should by 11, but it's like he's Xbox plugged in with his Switch and watches YouTube Shorts. He doesn't have a phone, but there's devices everywhere in his life. I mean, his parents are always on theirs. But it's interesting. So what year did you graduate?
2021.
Okay. So there's memories from youth accessible to you where there was not a device.
Yeah, and I grew up in the country too, so I'm an only child. I grew up in the country for the most part. But like I said, like my dad lived in Kansas City.
Yep.
And my mom always lived out in the country somewhere, and my grandparents have a family farm that we've always had. So I kind of got to see all different sides of the coin. Because I'd go to my dad's, and I had all my friends that were my neighbors, and when I'd be there, we'd go out and have Nerf wars in the street, or we'd ride our skateboards around.
Yeah.
And, just getting into trouble, ding dong ditching, all that stuff. Yeah. Still got to enjoy, life before video doorbells and everything like that. But then I'd go back out to the country, and I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so I'd either like hang out with my grandpa or help with like the cattle and stuff, or I would like make up my own world. And then I just
so
kind of built that into, up until I was probably like, I don't know, I'm still pretty imaginative. I still like to make stuff up.
Sure.
It's fun. It's good to break away from the mundane of life. And
so how many gigs did you and Isaiah play?
So in 2023, we played the Lake and Trade Revival Festival. Then we played at the Rendezvous. We had another one that like went out on us, and then we played that skate bar show. Okay. So we'd only played 3 shows, and that was our third one. So
Sarah comes up to you after that third show, and you guys are messaging the next day, and you find out she drums.
Yeah, and she's like, you guys want to get together and jam sometime? And I text Isaiah, I'm like, dude, we've been waiting for this, like our whole freaking lives, dude. And he's like, okay, like, where are we going? And there's this venue that was in St. Joe called High Tops Lounge.
Okay.
It just opened. It was so cool, man. It was so cool. I miss it so much.
It's already gone?
They had to downsize it. It's like a pot shop now. Is that even what people call it anymore?
A dispensary?
A dispensary, yeah. But they downsized it to where it's just a dispensary now.
Okay.
But before it was the dispensary, and then like one door over, it was the lounge.
Okay.
And there was a movie screen with like all these couches set up and a stage with the PA system, and they had a piano on the wall, and then there's arcade games back here.
Oh, wow.
A hockey table.
Nice.
Basketball, like the little hoop deal that counts your score, and then they had like all these fish tanks and like lizards and turtles and everything.
Wow.
They had an adult Lego table. Like it was, and then everywhere there's just video games, like PS2, Xbox, like.
Oh wow!
And
what a joint!
It was just you just go there and hang out, and that's like we need more places like that. It's just so nice to just be able to go, and like I don't smoke or anything. I don't really just, like go out and drink. Like I'll drink a beer every now and then or something, but like I don't like chase that really.
Good for you.
But it's nice to like there's places to have fun that you can still just kind of enjoy yourself and not have to, and I don't have anything against people that do drink or smoke or anything like that. I totally understand it, but like me, like just chilling on the couch with my friends or, just doing any of the stuff that they had, it was just nice to just get away.
Yeah.
But Sarah texts us and she's like, hey, they're having this open jam at High Tops. We could probably just get in and hang out there. There probably won't be too many people. So we're like, okay. Because it was like February, so it was cold. It was at night. It was like during the week. It was like on a Tuesday. Like we got off work and went there, and we get there, and I'd only seen Sarah once, so I'm trying to remember even what she looks like. And I didn't. That's the funnier thing, is that I didn't remember her name, because the opening band or the closer was starting to like set up and do their sound check and everything, so I didn't really hear her. And I felt bad to be like, hey, what was your name again? So I was just like, I'm just gonna wait for.
But you guys exchanged numbers.
We Instagram.
Instagram.
I got her Instagram. She got mine, and or I got her on the Sentimental Creatures Instagram was what that was, so that she knew where the band was at and everything. But we get there, and I'm like, there she is. So we walk up to her, and she's like, what's up, guys? We're up next. And we walk in, and there's a bunch of people in there, and we're just like, I look at Isaiah, and I'm like, we're going to do this, you know? And she's already got her kit set up on the stage.
Dang.
And the band before us is, like, playing literally their last, like, 2 songs. So I look at Isaiah, I was like, what songs
do you happen to have a whiskey bottle with water?
Yeah. And I opened my guitar case, and the set list from that skate bar show that we met her at was in there. And I was like, do you want to just do this? And she's like, yeah, sure. So we get up there, and I had never played with a band live before. I had tried out for one band, and then we had like 3 jam bands in my mom's basement that were just, I played the drums for those jam bands. So I didn't really have any experience with the band. Isaiah's played in a couple bands. A lot of firsts
right out of the gate.
Yeah, so we were just, we were jumping right out of the airplane at this point.
Yeah.
And the MC guy, he was really cool. He walked up to me, he's like, what's your guys' band name? Like, Sentimental Creatures. And he's just like, Sentimental Creatures?
You had that because of gigs with the gig or two with Isaiah.
Yeah.
Where you were billed it.
Yeah, because I'd already started trying to kind of brand us.
Right on.
As that. And I'm always, like, super focused on trying to.
He gives you a look when you tell him, when you answer him.
Yeah, and he's just like, okay. Sensitive. And I was
That's
just
a
like,
choice.
And I was like, yeah. So he walks out and he's like, all right, guys, let's hear it for Sentimental Creatures. Be nice to them. They're sensitive. And we were just like, awesome.
Wow.
And we've been called Sentimental Creatures, Seminal Creatures, Cinnamon Roll Creatures. Like, it's...
So
it cracks us up. And then, like, when I'm editing our videos that we post online, and I do the text hooks that pop up, because those get the better attention because people just want to watch
like
those
hashtags.
No, so like when you're watching a video or something and it has like the text pop up, and like as they're talking it's the subtitle but it's all flashy.
Gotcha.
So I try to edit that on the videos, and it does the automatic, like, it hears the person talk and tries to type it and do the right words.
Oh, funny. Yeah,
and it's just so funny to see what it comes up with when we say Sentimental Creatures, because it's so hard to be like Sentimental Creatures.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to pronounce it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll send screenshots to our band text just all the time of just the crazy names that the
So when you see her and she says, "What's up, guys? We're next," is Caleb with her?
I don't think he was there that night.
Okay.
Because they both work at a music store in St. Joe. So they kind of go back and forth.
Gotcha.
Like one of them's working
so
shift, the other
drums, rhythm, lead was your setup.
Yeah.
At this joint.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Sarah's awesome. She went to college for percussion. She's a teacher for percussion. She does everything. So she is one of the best drummers I've ever met in my life.
Nice.
And I did not know how good she was at the drums until I'm like, all right, this first one's called Could Have Stayed.
You only saw that she was into who was it? Sheila Easton? Sheila E.
Yeah.
And so you didn't, there wasn't a pic or a video of her behind the kit?
Well, I didn't, it was like one scroll, because I was just trying to make sure it was the right person.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I had a few people add me that night, so I was like, was this that one lady that I talked to? So I was like trying to find a face. And I was just like, and
so you find out she's got chops.
Yeah, I'm a huge Prince fan. So when I saw Sheila E., I was like, all right, you can't just like Sheila E. and not dig good music.
Right.
And I'd been by myself for so long that I built up a lot of habits that I'm still trying to kind of like cut off of. I've tried to overcompensate a lot for playing by myself acoustically. So my style, I couldn't ever hold on to a pick. I always dropped a pick. So then I started playing without a pick.
Good thing you bought a 10 of them from Muddy
Well,
River.
that's what made me find out that I couldn't play with them, is because I just always dropped them or lost them and everything. So I was like, okay, I'm going to play with my finger, and I'd be breaking my fingernails. I'd be cutting my hand open and bleeding. Like, it was just never a case. And then I went into Josie Records when I was putting out show flyers, and they had this little box of guitar picks that are Black Mountain guitar picks. I've talked with the owner of the company. He's a super cool guy. It's changed my life as a guitar player, as a musician. And they're like the bluegrass picks that you kind of slide on your finger. They're like that, but they're spring loaded. And they go on your thumb, like the point of the pick's down here, but the thing goes over the back of your thumb like that.
Uh-huh.
And they're meant to be for like finger style.
Okay.
But I suck at finger style. I'm a terrible finger style. I can do like one Bob Dylan thing.
Nice.
With that.
What is it?
Don't Think Twice.
Okay. That. Yeah. Okay.
And but I was like, this is really cool. I don't have to worry about dropping it. So I just keep playing normally. But then eventually it kind of almost became, I love funk music because of Prince, because of just Minneapolis Sound, Parliament, James Brown, all the just funk greats.
Yeah.
And I started to kind of find my groove, no pun intended, of just like, this has taken me to another level of just, I can do a lot more. So then I started being more percussive with how I was playing to make up for the fact that I didn't have a drummer with me. But then when we got a drummer with me, I had to kind of figure out where that fit, because I don't want to crowd the space of that end of the volume. So then we're playing with Sarah, and I'm like, this one's called Could Have Stayed. And it's the first song that we lead off with to this day. We've only done one other song first, and then we decided after that show that we weren't going to change it, and that it's Could Have Stayed is the song we open with at every single show. It's like a real high energy. It just gets us all kind of in the right headspace. It's like, yeah, we're doing a show. It's about to go down. Like, this is so fun. Like, and like still, even when we do it in practice, like just hearing the when I start playing that and Isaiah starts playing his lead lick, I wrote the whole song by myself with like a really crappy drum track. I'm not the best lead guitar player, but I made a lead lick for it. I made a bass line for it. Not very good, but I was like, there's something about this song that I really dig. So I sent it to him, and then whenever we were doing all that practicing before the skate bar show, that's when he wrote his part for it, and it was like the better version of what I had tried.
Okay.
And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier about me and Isaiah's relationship, is like he kind of knows where my mind's at with stuff, so then he can have it reach the full potential.
Cool.
Because I'm just
So when you guys get on stage for this gig, I mean, does she lead things off? How does she know?
So that's why I started talking about the bad habit, is I didn't let her count it in. I counted it in on my guitar. So I was and then I started playing it, and I'm playing it like way fast compared to like what we had played it, just because I was so excited to like hear what it sounded like with an actual band, because this was my first time playing one of my songs with a band that actually wanted to like do that. And Isaiah starts playing that lead lick, and I have the video. It's on our Instagram of that first time that we played it, and I literally just like light up. I almost missed the cue to go in for the first verse because I was like, this is magic. Like that's
awesome.
Like 7 years of my life up to that point, wanting to hear that. I had like right before the pandemic, I had almost got a recording contract, and I was not ready for that at all.
Wow.
I met the guy in line at a record store, and then he was like putting his studio together. And I had never recorded. I had never played to a metronome, anything like that. I've had some crazy,
I guess so. My gosh.
Fall into the opportunity and try to figure it out. But I signed the contract, and then COVID happened, and then we lost it.
Yeah.
So I had 2 demos from that, but I didn't know how to sing yet. I still wasn't a very good guitar player, but it was a good experience.
Sure.
I got that studio confidence. They really kind of nurtured me a lot and helped me kind of learn how to navigate being in that kind of setting, since I'd never been in that before. And I'm really thankful for their patience, because a lot of people would be like, after I've told them I've got a lot of songs, I've been playing shows, I come in and then I'm like, metronome.
What's that?
Well, like I knew what it was, but I just never
Right.
I'm starting to. They're playing the click track, and I'm just.
So how many songs did you guys play that night?
So I was cleaning my house and I found the set list that we used for the skate bar show, and that because I tried to make them look all official. I typed them up on the computer with the date and the venue, and I think we played like 8 or 9 songs.
Okay, and it went well.
And it was like obviously there were a few hiccups, but it was like we've been together for months.
Nice.
And
So
I looked at Isaiah and I was like, holy crap, dude.
So what's the next thing after that?
Well, we talked to Sarah and we're like, what do you think? She's like, that was awesome. And then I was like, let's just keep coming back here. So then every Thursday for like the next month or two, we were playing there every Thursday.
This is 2023.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or this would be 2024.
2024. Okay.
So this is like February to like April maybe.
Okay.
April, May. And then we started, we're gonna book some other shows. We played Cafe Acoustic, mainly a lot of St. Joe places. We didn't really start playing in Kansas City until the end of the year.
Okay. The three of you.
Yeah.
And when does?
So Caleb had just kind of started showing up at shows. Like we knew about Caleb, we had seen him a few times here and there, and then he came to High Tops one time. He played a show with us there, but
What is he?
He's a bass player.
He plays bass. Okay.
But he's in a couple other bands, but he plays lead guitar in those bands too.
Oh,
so
wow.
Everybody's got a little bit of multi-instrumental to them. Because Isaiah can kind of play bass a little bit. I can kind of play drums and stuff a little bit. Obviously nowhere near Sarah, but we've all kind of got a perspective in everything a little bit.
So he starts gigging with you guys, and then they become an item as
they had been together before we even met them.
So he's coming to gigs, and it's Sarah. Caleb is Sarah's boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's how you guys. Okay, cool.
And then he did the one show with us, but he had another opportunity come up, so he was busy with that for a while. But then that ended up, closing out, and then we got together at the end of last year.
Okay.
Just in like November maybe.
Okay.
November, late September.
To make it an official foursome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we still haven't played this show this week at Josie's on the 10th is going to be our first show.
Okay. Okay. And Isaiah is committed, or is he still trying to figure out?
After we played those first couple High Top shows, he was locked in, and I was like, dude, this is what we've been waiting for.
Nice.
Like this is like a God sent like thing.
So what's the origin story for the name?
So Sentimental Creatures. I have a list of band names on my phone that I've just always kept up, but it was not on there. But I was like, we can't. Our band that we had that was like the jam band that fell apart was called Cool Hand, like Cool Hand, like Western kind of deal like that. And we had the Instagram, we had merch that we had made.
Wow.
We never played a single show. Just jammed in my basement. One time we played Blue Oyster Cult Don't Fear the Reaper for like 20 minutes. Like we just jammed it for like 20 minutes.
I mean, that's also got to have more cowbell,
isn't
it?
It was great, and I had and I played the drums, so I was just. And, it was a lot of fun because it was just me, Isaiah, and two of our good friends that are just musicians, just having a great time.
Cool.
That and it helped me kind of get confidence of being in a group of people, regardless of what I was doing, because we all just kind of switched roles in the band as we played.
Sure.
But I was like, I don't want to be Cool Hand anymore. That failed. We're not going to be that. We're going to be something new. Okay. And I've been just searching. I had a couple that I picked out, a couple that Isaiah had picked out that we were just kind of like, it's not like, you just didn't feel it. And then one day my girlfriend and I, or my fiance, she's going to watch this. She's going to.
How long you been engaged?
We just got engaged on, just a couple weeks, or in December. So
okay.
just about a month.
So when you mentioned that you were en route, or you were going to go pick up your fiance from work, it has to still feel funny.
Yeah, and we give each other a hard time about it if we say like girlfriend, boyfriend,
right?
And everything. So
yeah,
it's just like,
yeah.
But we've been together for a really long time, so it's
like years.
Yeah, like
okay.
5 or 6 years
okay.
almost.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Freshly engaged and about to be, I mean, I guess maybe you're rolling up on a year with as the band.
Yeah, our 1 year anniversary, if you count it to when we first met Sarah, would have been December 23rd.
Okay.
But our 1 year anniversary of like our first show is like February 16th.
Okay. Yeah. Right around the corner.
It's
So
just crazy how much has happened.
somehow you land on Sentimental Creatures.
Yeah, so we were just driving around, and I'm trying to get her into more music, like, cause she likes music, she listens to music, but
This is your fiance,
Yeah.
not Sarah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to show her new stuff. She's showing me new music that she likes. Something we do a lot when we just drive around, especially in COVID when gas was like 50 cents and you could just drive around and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But this was obviously last year, and we're just listening to some new albums I wanted to try out, and this one came on, and the album was called Sentimental Creatures. But it's like a Christian worship album that we're listening to.
Okay.
But the album's called Sentimental Creatures, and I was like, that's really awesome. I was like, I've never really felt something that I related to so much like that. Like,
yeah.
It's just it's
very, kind of adjacent to sentient beings,
yeah,
right?
It's a very, relatable title that you could put on anybody.
Yeah.
In some circumstance.
Yeah.
Everybody's sentimental about something.
Sure.
And everybody is, we're all creatures.
Yeah.
Of just.
So what's your fiance's name?
Paige.
Paige with an I.
Yeah.
Shouts out to Paige. How'd you guys cross paths?
I was really good friends with her sister.
Okay.
In high school, and she was back in town. She lived in Springfield, and I was talking to her sister because she's just one of my best friends, and we were on Snapchat, so we're sending the pictures back and forth with like our faces in them, just with the text and everything. And then her sister Paige is there, and her sister Shelby texted me back on Snapchat. She's like, "My sister just said you're hot."
Oh boy!
And I was just like,
game over.
I was like, she got a phone.
Yeah.
And I had to.
What's the age difference?
She's 23.
Okay.
And I'm 21, so she's.
Did you? Was it a surprise? Was the proposal a surprise, or?
Oh yeah, I.
You knew what to get.
Yeah, so we've been together for a while. We just bought our first house last year.
Dang.
So
congratulations.
Last year was just I was telling her the other day. I was sitting in the living room. It was on New Year's Eve. I was like, this has just been one of the biggest years of my life. Like I'm just so thankful. For
still hitting a bunch of firsts at a young age.
Yeah, everything that's happened has just been, it's just, I just gotta thank God for it, because it's just.
So you knew what she wanted style-wise?
Kind of. So she's in the medical field.
Okay.
And she wanted an emerald cut, which is like a rectangle, basically.
Okay.
So it's only got 4 clasps on it.
Okay.
That's the problem. And I've got her a promise ring like a couple years before, and she just beat that one up a lot, sitting it on stuff for like helping people, or it was ripping
gloves.
Through her gloves.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I talked to the jeweler guy. I went to like 4 or 5 different jewelers, and he was like, yeah, I don't usually recommend that one for people who are in the medical field.
Lots of folks in the medical field don't wear it for that reason.
Yeah.
I work.
I work a lot outside and on like metal and stuff, so I got one of the rubber ones because I don't want to rip my finger off getting off a ladder or something.
Right.
I know a couple people have done that.
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that like I wanted to get her something. Like obviously I'll get like a metal dressy one at some point, but everyday wear I'm probably just gonna wear the rubber one unless we're going out for something.
Sure.
But for her, I was like, I want to get her something that that I have searched and found out, and it's going to be special for her. And I met this local jeweler. I talked with him like 3 or 4 times about what would work best for her, what would kind of complement the things she wanted. And he ended up having this one that he makes all of the jewelry, but we decided on an oval cut because it's got more clasps, so it would hold on to the diamond better.
Yeah,
and
it's an important piece.
And it was still, oval and a rectangular, probably about as close as you can get to being similar. And the way that he had the clasp on it, the light can like shine up through it, so it makes it sparkle more.
It's all about the sparkle.
I was like going in there and just talking to him for like hours at a time, just trying to like. I learned so much about.
I can't get this kid out of here.
Yeah, but we ended up deciding on that. I got it made, but he also makes these because we're gonna do the thing where like after we get married, she gets the second band that goes on it and
Yep.
fuses with it. And the second band is going to have custom, and it has all the accent pieces on it that
Yeah.
go around it, and it'll perfectly go around the shape of the main
Cool.
stone on
So
it.
does she like what you picked
Oh
out?
yeah, she loved it.
And what was the?
So we kind of went back and forth because the first year that we dated was during COVID. It was 2020, so there wasn't really a lot to do except drive around and be outside. And we were close to Smithville, so we went to Smithville Lake a lot.
Yeah.
And she hadn't decided she wanted to stay and try to work this yet or not. It was still just so new, and it was getting to where it was going to be. She was going to be needing to go back to work because the winter break was over and everything. So we were out at Smithville Lake on what was going to be probably our last date that we had before she went home. And I was like, let's go to this tree, and because we go out there and make these like rock towers and stuff like that.
Where's home?
What'd you say?
Where's home for her?
She lived in Springfield.
Springfield, right? Sorry, you said that.
And but I was like, let's go carve our names on this tree, so I got something to come back to. Like I was like, whether you end up staying or not, like I want to be able to remember everything that we've had on, because I'm just I fought to get her to even be there for that, and we carved our names into the tree, and she went back to Springfield. I stayed here, and lots of days of just working on the farm and just like cliche country songs on the farm, they're on my mind,
sure.
thinking about all that and everything, and she ended up coming back. We ended up sticking it out together and been through all kinds of stuff, but whenever she decided she's going to come back and stay with her family and everything, and we were going to make things work and everything, we went back to that tree and we tore that piece of bark off and we kept it, and I recarved our names into it, and we used to go out on our anniversary and we'd go like see the tree, but it's been like 5 or 6 years now, so it's starting to it had grown back over because the tree had healed.
Yeah, it's fucking kids keep carving shit in me, goddamn it.
Yeah, and but I thought about it for so long, because obviously they started asking after a couple years.
Of course.
When are we gonna get married?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's gotta be special. And she's a little bit of an introvert, so I'm very extroverted. She's pretty introverted. She can put the mask on, she can put the cape on, and do it if she needs to, but introvert by choice. And
did she have an opinion about you coming to do this?
Oh no.
Okay.
No. But I at first I kind of teased her because I was like, I'm gonna propose to you like Johnny Cash did, and I was like, I'm gonna pull you up on stage and just ask you to marry me. She's like, do not do that. That is my worst nightmare.
That's
hilarious. But
so did you go back to the tree?
Yeah. So she loves Christmas. Christmas is her favorite thing.
Sure.
So we went out to Union Station and looked at the Christmas lights out there, because that was one of our first dates, like our first big dates that we went on. And then we went and did the Ferris wheel in downtown, because we had both been wanting to do that for a long time.
How was it?
It was really cool. Really cool. We
went down to this past Saturday night. No, Friday night, the night before the weather, and did an escape room at Union Station, and then grabbed Fritz's for dinner. And it was dark when we went down there, so the all lit up, and so we were the last time I was on a Ferris wheel was probably 6 years ago at Worlds of Fun. Awful, absolutely awful, just because it takes so long to unload people, and it felt like we were up at the top for 20 minutes just swinging, like you start questioning the engineering.
Can I make that jump?
Are we gonna die up here? But you liked it?
Yeah, it was really cool. All the cabs are air conditioned, and
you're enclosed.
Yeah, and it would be really cool to do at night. I would definitely go back to do it at night. But it's definitely worth giving it a try. They got like a mini golf thing down there too.
Does it where you go and you're at the place? Does it seem janky or does it seem legit?
No, it's really nice.
Cool.
They got like a little brewery thing there too.
Oh wow.
I think so.
Okay.
It's a really neat little spot, and I think they're trying to expand it too. So I'm
cool.
excited to see what they do with that. But I blindfolded her between everything, so I told her, I was like, we got the house, so we've been just crazy busy, just working, trying to work on the house, get everything all kept up, and I was like, we're getting this whole day to ourselves. So I was like, we haven't, had a whole day where we just spend time together and forever.
And you planned the whole thing?
Yeah, and she didn't know that I had the ring. The only person that knew that I had the ring was like some of my family and then her sister, because her mom told me not to tell her. Her mom was like, if you tell me,
I'll
I'm
ruin
not
it.
gonna be able to. I'm not like she's just so excited.
She'll be able to like look at her mom and know
Yeah.
like what's going on. You
So, whenever, because I asked her mom like for her blessing and everything before and everything, and she's like, of course, but she's like, don't tell me.
Dad's not around.
Yeah, that's a whole different
Sure,
story.
sure.
But
So what was? Give me the day real quick and tell
so
me
yeah,
about
we went to Union. I blindfolded her after we got out of church, and then we went to McDonald's, and we drove to Union Station, did the Christmas lights, did the Ferris wheel, and I'm just rushing because it's winter and we only got like 4 hours of sunlight.
This is when?
It was in December.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's sun starts setting at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I pulled the Ferris wheel just out of nowhere because I was like, it's right there. I was like, we can make that happen. And then we're at the top of it. I'm like, come on, like we gotta get down. And I'm so glad I decided to do the blindfold thing because I was so nervous on the way back to Smithville to go to the tree because I went.
So you made her wear a blindfold for the drive back to Smithville?
Yeah. And she fell asleep because I got the heat on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but I went out there and I carved our names back on it with "Marry Me" on it.
Oh,
And
nice.
And we got out there and I was like, all right, here's our last thing. We got to figure this out before the sun sets.
She's still
And
blindfolded.
Isaiah went with me to help me do it too.
Oh,
Isaiah
okay.
and my buddy Braden, they went out and helped me, and we went out and got that taken care of months before. But I took her out there and I was like, it's been a long time since we went to that tree. I wonder if it's still even there. She's like, oh yeah. I was like, let's see if we can find it. Let's work together. Like just team building exercise,
Blindfold off now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, blindfold off.
All right.
Yeah, she'd be scared to walk around
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
woods with the blindfold on. But I had a piece of bark that I put over it so somebody didn't like vandalize it with like a Sharpie or something. Try to mess it up. And we went to it and I was like, that's weird that a piece of bark's sticking out like that. And I knocked it off and she's like, and I've like messed with her a few times, like whenever she'd be like, so when are we gonna get married? And I'd be like, oh, and then I'd like tie my shoe or something like that, so she like didn't know if it was real or not.
That's hilarious.
And but yeah, it was just everything that I wanted it to be. And,
So she was surprised.
oh yeah.
And did she like what you picked out?
Yeah, she loves it.
Nice.
She loves it.
Good job. Very cool. So Sentimental Creatures, the name comes from an album that already has that name, but you two are driving around listening to music, and that's when it comes to
and
you?
it just comes on, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool song, and I look at it, and the album cover just says Sentimental Creatures on it, and I was like, I think that's it.
There you go.
I was like, if that's not copyrighted, if that's not another band, because it's an album name,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
not taking that
No.
from anybody, and it's a good album. I will represent that album, like, check it out. But I was like, every other name that I had thought was going to be a thing to that point was copyrighted or was already another
bummer.
band.
Yeah.
But this one, there wasn't a single Instagram account called Sentimental Creatures. So I got the Instagram title of just Sentimental Creatures, not Sentimental Creatures Music, not Sentimental Creatures ____ 0044. Like,
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is it. I was like,
Cool.
I was like, we all relate to this. I texted Isaiah. I was like, I figured out the band name. He was like, cool. And and that was in like the beginning of 2023. But we just sat on it because I was like, I don't want to jump the gun on this. I was like, I really feel something with this, and I didn't want it to be another deal. It was like Cool Hand where we put something together real quick and then it falls apart just as fast as it got traction. So we just sat on it. I had the Instagram account because I was like, I know somebody's gonna take that, and I put a profile picture on it. I put one post on it, and then I just sat on it for a year until we started going by.
Smart.
And it was good because there's another person that like made a book club called Sentimental Creatures.
Oh, wow.
And it's like Sentimental Creatures like 1. Like it's like they probably would have took it if I had.
For 100%. Yeah.
So
you guys have Instagram, Facebook. Did I see some stuff on SoundCloud too?
yeah, we've got our debut single. Was a live recording at the Rhino here in Kansas City. It's out on all platforms.
What's the name of it?
Down, live at the Rhino.
Down.
And there's the date.
Okay. No, you didn't want to go with Could Have Stayed?
So we had started. We've got a couple demos that we recorded with one of my other friends who has a studio called Delta Rhythm Studios. It's here in Kansas City too. Bo Osborne, he's the main producer and everything. He does really cool videos. He'll have bands come out.
What's his studio?
Delta Rhythm Studios.
Okay.
But he'll have bands come out, and his studio, he can set up cameras all over it, and then you can do a live session, and he mixes it and records it and puts it on his YouTube channel. And I had done that for him like a year or so prior. So I reached out to him, and we started doing some demo work with him, getting everything put together. So we had Coulda Stayed, and we had Sink or Swim recorded with him. So we got this opportunity. We'd gone to the Rhino, because the Rhino's where the Kansas City music industry meetings are every month.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Kansas City Music Industry is the Instagram page. Riley Corbin runs it. He's one of the sound guys there, and he's also a producer and a musician. But Isaiah and I had been going to those, and then Sarah came to one with us, and they usually do an open mic after the networking part of it. And we were going to come up, and we were like, yeah, let's do the open mic. And we didn't know that you had to like do the sign-in sheet, because we were like usually talking to somebody whenever they did it. So we all get off work, and we race up to Kansas City, and the sign-up sheet's full.
Oh.
And we have all our gear and everything.
Oh, damn.
So we're like, crap. And there's a Dairy Queen like right down the street from the Rhino. So we drove our cars out there, and we set up all our gear in the Dairy Queen parking lot, and we played our whole set in the Dairy Queen parking lot, just because a bunch of people came out to see us, and we were like, well,
how'd you get juice?
We just did it acoustic.
Okay.
Yeah, and we sat there, and they all just sat on the ground in the parking lot. There were some people that were like walking that came over, and then people were going through the drive-thru at Dairy Queen. They were pulling their cars up and watching. We were just playing our set out there. At Dairy Queen.
Nice.
It was so awesome.
It's a great idea.
And yeah, it was really cool. But then we found out about the sign-up sheet, so we were like, okay, we're gonna make sure we're on it next time. So
yeah.
We got there early, and I talked to Riley, and they were going to be doing this experimental thing where they did a live recording for you if you paid, and they would do a light mix on it and then get it sent to you, and you could do whatever you wanted with it. So it was like an opportunity for people coming in to get a good.
That's the story with how your single came to live on the internet?
Yeah. So we
Nice.
went out and we got on the sign-up sheet. We paid for it, and we went up, and that was the first time that we ever got to play at the Rhino. We'd wanted to play there for a really long time.
Where is that?
It's in North Kansas City.
That's what I thought.
Kind of by there's like a Hawaiian Bros, and there's a couple like bars and stuff over there.
Okay.
In the Dairy Queen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
It's anytime I hear that there's a Dairy Queen still around, I'm like, good. Can't have that thing fully die off.
yeah. Well, and you never know when you're going to see Sentimental Creatures in a Dairy Queen.
That's
parking
right.
lot,
That's
so.
right. That's right.
But yeah, it was really cool to get to play there, and it was packed. So many friends and family came out, because I sent out this big message to all of our followers and all of our friends and everything that was like, we want you to be a part of our first single. Come here, like, we can hear you on this. The crowd's gonna be in it. Like, we want you to be a part of it. So all of our friends came out, all of our families came out, and
Dang.
obviously there's like 20 something other people doing it, because everybody got like one or two songs. So there's just a packed house. And they announced the band, and if you listen to the recording, it's like, Sentimental Creatures! Ah! And it's so cool to hear that.
It's like backyard full count, bottom of the ninth.
Yeah. But it's just, the little moments like that, it's so easy to realize that you miss them whenever you're just living them, especially when you're on stage. Because everything.
Say that again? The little moments like that.
The little moments like that are so easy to miss. Especially when you're on stage, because you're just so focused about everything you've done to get up to that point.
Right.
And be on time.
Yeah.
You're in tune. You know the set. You know what you're going to say. And then you blink, and then the set's over, and then you're packing up to go home. And you're like, what even happened?
So, just because Steve Vai came up, are you a Zappa fan at all?
I've listened to some of his stuff.
Okay.
I try to listen to everything that I can.
Okay.
I listen to everything between like 30s and 40s blues music to modern day like pop.
So he was so ahead of his time and so insanely intelligent and largely a sober individual. Like, if you read either of his biography, one of his biographies talks about he was present once where there was some socially passed marijuana, and he took a couple puffs. But like, I don't like, his outfits a lot of musicians, and he was. It sounds like kind of a dick, but like had to be for it to be the way that he wanted it to turn out. So partying, late, hungover, bye. I'll find somebody. So his studio catalog, I break into 3 tiers. And it's the 60s / early 70s stuff with Mothers of Invention, which is just a whole, we're just going to put that over here. Like, there are folks that love it. It's not my cup of tea. I respect it for what it is. And then there's the stuff he did in the 70s, which is just all
That's
of
the legendary stuff.
And then, and the stuff, he died in December of 94, I believe. So the stuff that he did in the 80s and the 90s, he is just, everything's an experiment. Like,
He's very improvisational.
I'm never going to make the same track twice. I'm never going to, it's all, so I've just never given it the time, but there's 60-ish, maybe 67 total studio albums. And then there's the You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore series, which is all live stuff. He's got, one of those, he's talking to the crowd, they come out in their jam and they bring it all the way down. He's like, so, I happened to cross paths with Johnny Cash, and he said he was going to come do the show with us tonight. And then it turns out he's sick, so he can't be here. And so, I need to take a poll, and, we were going to play Ring of Fire with Johnny. How many people want to hear it, even though Johnny's not going to be here? And everybody goes nuts. And so, they immediately, and he gets the refrain. Every time he says fell into a ring of fire, he goes, ow, ow, ow. So silly. And I don't even know what we were talking about that made me divert to that, but anyway.
Just living in the moment of it.
Yes, and so much of that is palpable, not only with the live stuff, but with the studio stuff when it comes to Zappa and everything that he did. Lots and lots of satire, lots of, Joe's Garage. I get this many episodes deep and you start repeating yourself a lot. So luckily, every time I say it to a person, it's a new person. But anyway, 3-act, 77, I think. And it's this whole big story about how music ruined Joe's life, because he starts out as a garage band and his mom's like, turn it down. And they get a gig and they get signed by a label and all this crazy stuff happens. And he ends up working in the utility research muffin kitchen as a job. And his job is to squeeze icing onto a muffin as it goes by on a conveyor belt. And he's playing a song about that. And he'll do now we're going to play it in signature of what it sounds like in a third world country. And they change the time signature that they're in. And then he's like, sometimes in smaller than third world countries, the turntable is powered by kerosene and you run out of kerosene mid jam. And so it's bananas.
It's art though. It's art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Highlights the art.
Yeah, that's I love that you mentioned that, the little moments and not getting too carried away and everything it took to get you there, but actually
it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
It's just, like even just talking back about the stuff with like Muddy Rivers, like that was a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
But it feels like it's yesterday.
Yeah. So you're an only child.
Yeah.
Mom and dad met how?
They met in college.
Where were they studying?
Missouri Western.
Okay.
In St. Joe.
Sure.
But yeah, they met. I'm pretty sure they met in college.
Okay, and both were into music.
Yeah, my dad, he plays guitar and drums. He's more so of a drummer.
Okay.
But he was in like a couple cover bands, and then he wrote his own music,
Nice.
and stuff like that. And then my mom was like a singer, like front woman of a group that she was in. That they did like some of her originals that she wrote, and some covers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um,
And so they, as far as your memory can tell, had music collections of their own.
Yeah.
They would listen to stuff, be it at home or in the car or whatever.
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. Whether it's like wearing the concert T-shirt, having the posters, like you remember the big CD books that we had in the cars and everything.
Yeah.
And I would just be sitting there, looking at that
Yep.
while my mom's driving around.
Nice.
And checking everything out, but.
So I like this idea. I mean, I haven't crossed paths with a ton of people that just don't. The home that they're raised in, but they're out there. There's some folks that don't really kind of come online to music until they're 18 or whatever. And so when I meet somebody whose folks, it gives me a good feeling about the world.
Yeah.
And so the music, I always say the music that is in our world when we're little people and being raised is kind of like furniture.
Yeah.
It's, you don't, until you go out and experience a little bit of the world, you're not, you think that's what everybody's doing, listening to Johnny Cash and whatever the case may be. But eventually you sort of start carving out your own path down.
Yeah.
This is the music that I like, and this is all the things that I want to explore musically. So I'm curious, and not necessarily from the list that you shared with me, is there an album that stands out that was sort of your first love, or a loner, or maybe one that you bought with your own money?
Oh, I got tons of stories for all that, and it was so hard to pick out the four for this.
I'm sure.
I sat on it, like I felt bad that I hadn't responded to you.
No, it's all
it took me so long.
the
to
way
pick
that
four.
looks is all over the place.
Yeah.
Months and weeks, and sometimes people are messaging too much, and so. But we're not there yet. I'm just thinking about when
Yeah.
you.
So another funny thing with music and like my family is my dad, he is really into like the 80s, like thrash and like Metallica, Slayer,
Sure.
everything like that. But he also is the one that kind of got me into Steve Vai.
Okay.
He got me into Joe Satriani.
Nice.
More modern, he got me into Coheed and Cambria. But he also likes John Mayer, Jack Johnson.
Cool.
He's
Do
both
you-
sides of the coin completely for him. And then with my mom, the exact same way. She's hair metal all the way. She loves 80s pop. She was the one that got me into Prince.
Okay.
She loves like the 2000s rock. That's like Nickelback,
Sure.
Buck Cherry, everything like
Yeah.
that.
Now, do you have a physical collection of your own, or are you just a streaming dude? Or?
Yeah. So whenever I was growing up, it was always CDs and tapes.
Yep.
Was what we had. But as I got older, because my grandparents also just did like CDs, and we had tapes in like all of our farm trucks that were just like
Awesome.
Hank Williams Sr. and Marshall Tucker Band and
Heck yeah.
and everything like that. But there was one time I remember, because my dad's mom, she loved Elvis. And she got me obsessed with Elvis. And the whole rest of my family likes Elvis too. Like everybody loves Elvis.
Okay.
But like she loved Elvis.
Right on.
And when she passed away, I got this MP3 player that she had. And it was like a Radio Shack, just a cheaper one. And I used
R.I.P.
to
and peace to Radio Shack,
yeah,
man.
for real.
Memories.
That place is so awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And I would sneak down on the bus every day and just listen to Elvis all the time.
What? Because you're not supposed to have a device at school?
It was weird. My bus drivers were always kind of strict because phones were still kind of like people didn't know
They're
if they
telling
wanted
you what
kids
to
have.
do? The bus
Well,
drivers?
like if we couldn't they didn't want people jumping across the aisles, be like, oh, what's on your MP3 player? What's on your MP3 player?
Fair.
And stuff like
I
that,
get that.
for like a safety
Yeah.
deal.
Absolutely.
But I used to listen to that all the time. And
So
then,
are you familiar, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, with any Satriani albums?
The Silver Surfer one.
Surfing with the Alien.
That one's awesome. I got the one. I don't remember what it's called, but it was like one of his earlier albums. He's still got like the whole head of hair and everything, and it's like neon green and
Not
blue.
of this earth.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that I remember. I found that one with my dad, and I was so hyped about that.
Yeah, my next door neighbor played in a band when I was a kid, and I had my first guitar. And he came over one night. He's like, dude, you gotta check this out. And I was like, what is happening? Like, this doesn't, like there's a break in that title track off of Surfing with You. That's the lead track. Yeah. And then he just comes back in, like it's anyway. So I was like, I gotta go get Surfing with the Alien, then Not of This Earth, and then I got Flying in a Blue Dream, which is wonderful, and then I got The Extremist, which is brown, and he's on the cover, kind of silhouette-ish. Also good, and then I drifted. I didn't stop. I was seeking out other things. But anyway, I cut you off. You were in the middle of telling me.
So yeah, I had that
MP3.
That MP3 player I listened to all the time, and then my grandparents on my mom's side, they went to Radio Shack, and they realized I was starting to kind of get into music, and I had this dumb karaoke machine. I should not have had it because I would just, whenever I first got it, I was way too young to have it. I just would like scream in it with a bunch of reverb because I thought it sounded weird. But as I got like 4 or 5, or it would probably be like 5 to 7 probably. I got the gold #1s for Elvis on CD, and I put it in there, and they had gotten me this tape recorder, just to kind of get the pack of like 16. You just throw it in there and you can record, and I would set that up with my karaoke machine, and I'd play the Elvis thing, and I'd just sing Elvis to it and everything.
And tape yourself?
Yeah, and
nice.
then I'd make tapes for everybody in my family because we all had tape players in the car still. And like when my dad would pick me up for the weekends, I'd give him a tape, or I'd sneak him in the farm truck, so like we'd be driving around and they'd go to put the tape in, and it's me yelling Elvis.
That's hilarious.
We found one of them like a couple years ago, and it was so funny to listen to. But that's actually like technically the first recording of me doing music.
Yeah. So you get grandmother's MP3 full of Elvis stuff.
Yeah.
So what is that first-ish album that you fall in love with?
The one that I really like I loved like the 50s Elvis stuff because it was just there's so much energy in it. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more into like the 70s Elvis stuff where there's a lot more of the soul in it and everything. But the 2003 remix of A Little Less Conversation, when I was like 8 years old, I was obsessed with that song for some reason.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like I think I got stuck on the MP3 player for like a couple days, and I was just like, yeah, this
that works. I'm cool with that.
But also like my mom, I always love telling the story because it cracks me up, but like everybody feels their own way about it. I don't care. She'd be like drive me to preschool, and we'd just throw CDs in while I'm in there. So I'm like 4 or 5 years old and listening to Buck Cherry. Just, hey, you're crazy. And like, but like I'd change all the words that I knew were bad.
Sure.
So it's like, it's just a cute little kid like yelling
That's
stuff.
funny.
He has no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, this is awesome. Or like lit up, love the cocaine, love the cocaine. And then like, but I just, Mama, can you wait? Mama, can you wait? And I'm just in the car seat like,
nice.
But Nickelback, I don't care if I get crap for saying this. I like Nickelback's cool. It was just there when I was there.
Yeah.
And I don't have any shame in saying that I like Nickelback.
Good for you.
But the Dark Horses album with Gotta Be Somebody on it, or Somebody for Me.
Okay.
That song was like, I think I felt my first like heartbreak from that song.
Oh boy.
And I was like 5 or 6.
Okay.
And I was just like my girlfriend in kindergarten like broke up with me or whatever, and that like I just listened as this time I wonder what feels like.
Oh man.
And like and
so this is cassette that you fan.
This was on a CD.
This is CD.
At this
Okay.
point, but
so you have this is an important distinction. and you know, if you are solely a streaming person and that's how you consume music, fine. But there's no replacement.
For vinyl.
No.
Yeah.
For any medium of
yeah.
physical cassette, vinyl, CD, because it all feels there's textile, there's smells, there's liner notes, there's art, there's photos. You really become invested in the sequence.
It's an experience
of the track. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to get to. Is there was only one time when I was younger that I really remember having a record player, because they were just so clunky. It was always the big
piece of
entertainment
furniture,
systems that had the fold up deal with it. And we got one from a thrift store, and it had 3 Elvis records in it, and I was like, no way. And I remember I was fascinated with it, but I only got to mess with it a few times because I didn't want to break it, because we were selling stuff like reused furniture and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I was like, I don't want to break it, but I want to try it out.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was so cool, but we sold it and I never saw it again. But then when I got my driver's license, I was like, I'm gonna go crazy. And my dad or my buddy and I went out one day because I'd done some light modeling stuff when I was in middle school, and we stumbled across Josie Records when it was at the old location.
Okay.
And we were trying to get people to buy these shirts that we were trying to sell for the solar eclipse that happened a couple years ago, and I was a model for that. And they had a band come in, and I was like, and it was the first record store I'd ever been in.
Josie?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first, I'd been in, there's Record Warehouse in St. Joe, but they had kind of switched over to CDs before they went out.
Yeah.
Just because sign of the times. But
yeah.
But Josie's, I walked in, and like you said, the sights, the smells, the experience of all your favorite albums, they're this big, they got everything in them. But the experience of just meeting all the people in there, and they're all so cool. And then this band comes out of the back. They had the old doors that slid open like that, and then the band's there. And I sat there. I was like, these are just regular dudes. I was like, this isn't somebody famous, but they sound awesome. And I didn't even, until that point, I didn't really compute that, it was a reality for me to even be able to make that something that I could do.
Right.
Nobody really gives you a handbook on how to make it happen. You got to kind of throw it together for yourself. I know there's, the school rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wish I could have had something like that, but I'm also thankful that I didn't, because it gives you that fight or flight instinct of, is this a good opportunity? I've missed out on these things. I've messed up in these things, but I know, you're just I feel like I'm a lot more confident in my decision making with stuff, and I can deal with things better since I've kind of had to fight my way through.
Yes.
The last 3 or 4 years I've been a professional musician or whatever. I still don't even know if I can call myself that, but
I mean, if somebody is asking you to play gigs and sometimes you collect money from those gigs, then that's
it's
right?
It's crazy, man. It really is a dream come true to just even get to have people that want to hear it.
Yeah.
And to be able to get it out, because I know I keep jumping all over, but
you're good.
3rd grade was when I learned how to write poetry, and that was a whole other world opened up for me.
From a teacher?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what
Mrs. Reed's 3rd grade class.
What's up, Miss Reed?
Mrs. Reed.
Who did she feature as folks to,
She was just teaching us how to, write and rhyme.
Yeah, but I mean, did she have you read T.S. Eliot or Shakespeare or?
I think we might have read some Shakespeare. She might have read it to us, but it was more
Robert Frost.
Yeah, it was more along the lines of you can make. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
Poetry doesn't have to be perfect.
Damn it! That's why I brought up Josh Dubois, the video dude, because he said in our business there's a line, and I'm probably going to butcher it, that says sometimes finished is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's the truth.
Right on.
The liberty of being able to do whatever you wanted with something, but still be able to express yourself. I don't know why it was so deep. At that age.
Well, I mean, you're a 3rd grader, and you've already, as a 5-year-old, you already went through heartbreak. And
Well, My fiance and I, we were at my grandparents' house for Christmas, and I was digging through this cabinet trying to find something, and I found a bunch of poems that I had written, and it was from like 4th or 5th grade, but it was like, it tortures me seeing you love someone else.
What?
And, like, sitting across the room knowing that you don't want me. And like,
Wow.
some deep,
That is
like
deep.
mournful, heart wrenching poem that I wrote whenever I was in like 5th grade.
You're
And
like 10.
She looked at me. She's like, why were you feeling this? But it was something that I really started to enjoy, just writing poems.
Yeah.
And then I wrote my first song, which my mom still gives me a hard time about, because it's just, it came out of nowhere. Because I was just in my room, and her and her friends are out there, like, watching TV. There's, like, a football game on or something. And then I come out, and I was like, I wrote a song. And she's like, oh, you want to show it to everybody? And I'm like, yeah. So I get my little notebook, and I open it up. And it was called Mondays Suck. And I still remember the words to it to this day. It's a Monday, laying in my bed, cat scratching at my head. I don't want to go to school, but I have to. When I got there, people were pulling my hair. I didn't know what the heck was going on there, and all I got to say is, I don't care about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Mondays suck, Mondays are bad luck, and the next day I woke up and I thought Mondays suck. That's more what I'd expect from that age range to write. But I was like, I wrote a song. And of course they're all like, yeah, that's
nice.
Awesome, that's awesome. And then I got into a whole adventure with YouTube and everything, trying to put stuff out with that, and ended up going a whole different path where we ended up, my friend Braden that I mentioned, we had like a semi-professional paintball team that we were on, and we were sponsored and doing competitions, and then that fell apart, and then I got back into music and everything. But
my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Sangster, she's memorable for many things, mostly kind of being a favorite.
3rd grade rocked, man.
And also, like, she, needled me a little bit and encouraged me. But she had a little thing on her wall, and it was Snoopy and Woodstock. And Monday, woe is me. Tuesday, let's see. No. Monday, I'll never make it. Tuesday, I'll try and fake it. Wednesday, woe is me. Thursday, almost free. Friday, whoopee. And, they're stoked. Anyway, I remember that. It was like 1983. Like, shit on the wall in my 3rd grade teacher's room. So lots and lots. Music is everywhere in your life as a young person.
Yeah, there's always some kind of music on. I remember the first concert I went to was the Wiggles.
That was my next question.
My mom and my dad, anytime they came to Kansas City, I was in the pit. I was moshing in the pit at the Wiggles concert.
What is the Wiggles?
Oh, you gotta check them out, man.
Okay. Can you give
timeless. They're like the Beatles of kids music.
Okay. And it sounds
might
familiar.
Be controversial. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. The Wiggles are the best kids band of all time.
How old are you at that show?
Probably like 3 or 4.
Oh.
I have pictures that they took on the film cameras, the twist ones with that. There's like me in like the pit, just like and everything. And I remember one time I caught some of the confetti, and I took it up to the stage, and like the main dude like came up to me, and I gave him the confetti, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I don't know.
So how long are they under the same roof, mom and dad?
They were divorced before I was probably before I was 3, I think. I don't really remember anything of them being
But
together.
you guys are together at that show.
No, like some of them my mom would take me to, some of them my dad would take me to.
You got multiple Wiggles show under your belt?
Yeah.
Shows under your belt? Okay.
Dude, I wish I could find like a Wiggles concert tee that's in an adult size, because I would rock that thing. But
heck yeah.
They're all like kid size, because it was like 2005.
What live music memories do you have beyond the Wiggles?
So the next concert after the Wiggles, there's a huge gap of 3 years, and then I was like 6. And my mom took me to this coffee shop out in like Nebraska, because this one guy that she was a fan of, just some indie dude who won like a talent show, he was going to be playing at this coffee shop in Nebraska, and his name was Ryan Starr, and I was 6 years old, and I was like, whoa.
So you went.
He was a rock star at the coffee
Nice.
shop. And he did this like acoustic set, did all of his songs that were popping then, and I got to meet him after, and he gave me his autograph.
Nice.
I still have it hung up. I got like all the autographs and stuff, people, and it's hung up there with it.
Who else did you see besides Ryan Starr?
After Ryan Starr, it was a huge gap, and then first concert, Def Leppard Tesla Sticks in 2015.
Okay.
That was with
What
my
venue?
mom, Starlight.
Nice.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And that's why I put Def Leppard on my list, is just because they were the first, like, I listened to them growing up, obviously, but like at that point, like 2015, I was absolutely obsessed with Def Leppard. And I've seen Def Leppard there, and then I saw him on the stadium tour most recently.
Okay.
With Motley Crue, Poison,
Cool. Yeah.
Russell Sack.
At Arrowhead, right?
Kaufman.
Kaufman.
Yeah.
Kaufman, my bad. Okay.
But yeah, and Joan Jett. Joan Jett was there. I've seen Joan Jett twice.
Nice. So where does your musicianship trajectory begin?
So that's another reason why Hysteria is on my thing, is because my dad got me my first guitar at a pawn shop when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, and it was a Tobacco Burst Strat. I didn't realize that I have taste in Tobacco Burst Strats until I moved into my new house, and I realized I have like 4 Tobacco Burst Strats that are all different pick guards. I was like, I gotta get a different color. It's like, jeez, man. But it was a white pick guard, single ply pick guard, Tobacco Squire Strat, and I liked it because it looked like the Tobacco Burst looked like Elvis's '68 comeback guitar that he had, that hollow body. So I was like, it's like Elvis, you know. Brought it home, played it for like 10 minutes, hurt my fingers, put it in the corner, didn't touch it again. And then I was in like, I remember how old I was. I think it was in like middle school, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, somewhere around then. I told my dad, I was like, I think I want to get a bass guitar. I think that would be easier. Just like rationalizing because it has less strings. I was like, oh, this would be way easier.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, it's 2015 because I was so into Def Leppard. And I was like, I think I should get a bass guitar.
Phil Collin.
Yeah, Phil Collin, Steve, you know.
R.I.P. in peace.
Vivian Campbell, even. He's a great guitar player as well. But, yeah, I was like...
So did he oblige your bass request?
Well, we were coming home from something, and I was just like, I was super bummed out. I was like, I want to be a rock star, but, like, I don't... Like, guitar's hard. and I was like, can we get a bass guitar? Like, can we trade it or something? He's like, how about you actually just give it a try? He's like, you haven't really like sat down and really given it like a good try. It's like, give it like a couple months or so, and if you still feel that way, we can see about it. See about trading it in at like a pawn shop.
Good answer, Dad.
And he went and printed off some tabs for Hysteria. And
wow.
And he's like, so you want to learn a Def Leppard song? And it was like beginner tabs, like nothing actually like it.
Sure.
But it's just close enough to the melody line that it sounds like it. He's like, you want to learn Hysteria? And I was like, you know how to play Hysteria? He's like, no, but I know how to read tabs. And he plays it, and I'm like, dude, that's awesome.
Dude.
And he hands me it, and he like put my fingers on the fretboard in the right spot, and it was literally like, like that's literally all it was. But I was like, I'm a freaking guitar player. I was like, this is
awesome. Who wants my autograph?
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome. And because before I would just like sit there, and then I'd put like YouTube on my iPod under my leg, and I'd play like Bon Jovi, and then I'd be like, yeah, look at me, and I'd not be playing anything at all. But like whenever he showed me how to play Hysteria, I was like, I can do this. And then like 7th grade, 8th grade, 7th grade and 8th grade were kind of whenever I started to first kind of experiment with guitar. My mom got me a guitar at her house, so I just kind of, when I'd be at one house, I'd have one. I had one that I bought at an auction, but it was like impossible to play because the action was so high on it. And it was
what does that mean?
It's like the string height on the fretboard.
Uh-huh.
So it was a Ovation Roundback acoustic electric. And those, they're made out of this weird material. So, like, if you don't keep them in the right temperature, they just kind of flex. And I bought it from, like, an auction house.
So who knows?
It was beat.
So does that mean there's extra force required to get this string to touch the
acoustic
neck?
guitars are a lot harder to play than electric guitars, just because they've got a...
That I know, yeah.
And that one was impossible. She got me one for Christmas at that house, and I went back and forth with them, and then freshman year, whenever I did that show with Bryce, that's when I started to kind of take it seriously. Started learning stuff on my own. My dad taught me how to play G, C, D, and A, and that's whenever, like, I remember I was like a freshman, and I was about to leave his house, and he's like, "Hold on." I was like, "Check this out." He's like, "If you learn these 4 chords, that's like Elvis only knew like a few chords." He's like, everything's like motivated by Elvis, pretty much. But like, he's like, you know, Elvis wasn't a great guitar player. He's a great performer. He only knew these chords. You can write 1 billion songs with these chords. And he showed me them. And I remember the first time I played like a G chord and a C chord, I was like, I can make something with this. Like I finally got like the canvas I was looking for.
Cool.
And I went home, and that's like all I did was just mess around with those until I started figuring that out. And then once I played that show, I was like, okay, I cannot suck that bad ever again. I will not survive that. So
where do you have the opportunity to get behind a kit?
So my dad was a drummer also.
Oh, right.
So whenever
they're around.
Yeah, so we always had a drum kit. There's a bunch of pictures of me when I was little. Like I was like, "Dad, can I play your drums?" Like even when I was like 4 or 5. He's like, "Yeah, sure." Put the headphones on. I sit down there and smack around and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a rock star." But then around the same time as I started learning those chords, I started kind of getting curious, like, "Oh, how do you play the drums?" So then he's teaching me like just the regular rock beat kind of deal. And then I'm like, I can play 2 instruments now. I can grow with that. And then like every time that I went over there, I started messing around more. And he's sitting upstairs. Of course, he hears all of it because I'm playing it through an amp or I'm playing it on the kit and everything. And then eventually he had this old MacBook that was just fried. Like it had to be plugged in or it would run out of battery in like 5 minutes. And then if you did too much, too fast, it would just crash. But he's like, I have this. It's got GarageBand on it. If you want to experiment with that, because phone GarageBand is really difficult to use.
Really?
For me, at least. But he's like, if you want to try this out, he's like, I can't guarantee you that it's going to work very good for you, but here's this.
Here it is, yeah.
And he set me up with that, and then I started experimenting with it, and it was really frustrating because I'd be like halfway into a song, and I'd have to like save it, and then the computer would crash, and then it'd take 10 minutes to boot back up, but then I'd have it, and then I'd do a little bit more, and then it'd crash, and I'd have to make sure I saved it. And all at the same time, too, my mom's kind of working with me, because I wasn't super confident about singing, because I've always had a really high-pitched voice, and in school I just always caught a lot of flack for that.
Of course.
And because I just always had a high-pitched voice. Yeah. And I was like, can I even be like a cool singer with a high-pitched voice? And then like, Prince.
Cinderella. Prince.
Yeah, Cinderella, yeah. And
Robert Plant, Geddy Lee.
Yeah. But, like, I never saw myself as, like, even in the same conversation as that.
Right.
But she started showing me, like, Mark Slaughter from Slaughter. I have seen Slaughter live. I try to see them live every time they come to Kansas City.
I didn't know they were still around.
Oh, dude. So good. One of the loudest concerts I've ever been to. I've seen him at Ameristar 3 times. The first time I went there, it was literally like a grenade went off. Like, I walked out, and I was with my cousin, and we were, like, talking to each other, like, that was so awesome. And, like, all you hear is, like,
yeah.
And we're just like,
yeah.
And the last time I saw him, I got the set list, and I saw LA Guns, too. And I got a guitar pick from LA Guns. Nice. And then I bought a Mark Slaughter one from that tour on eBay because I wanted to frame it. But, yeah, she started playing me Slaughter. I was listening to Childish Gambino. The song Redbone, obviously changes some of the words in that song, but like the falsetto of that, like trying to like daylight, like trying to learn how to set that up. And my mom, she's a really good singer. My grandma's a good singer too, but also that kind of like organic self-taught kind of deal. She had some vocal lessons like when she's in high school, but she mainly just kind of like built her own thing with that. And then she was kind of helping me of like, you can teach yourself. Listen to the people that you love on the radio, on your CDs and everything, and then learn from that.
Do you mess around with reaction videos at all?
Like hearing something for the first time.
Or watching, like, on YouTube?
Yeah.
There's a gal called The Charismatic Voice, and she's like a professional opera singer, whatever, and she reacts to songs. And a 4-minute song is a 25-minute video
Yeah.
because she goes back a lot, but she knows all of the terminology and the technique, and I won't even try to do it justice, but she's real sharp. And she's kind of been all over the place. I know that she has spent quite a bit of time in the metal lane.
Yeah.
Which,
A lot of metal singing is like almost opera singing too, because you have
Yeah.
to kind of learn that.
But it might be interesting if you go to her channel and poke around and find a video or two of a tune that you know or an artist that you know, and she'll point out what they do well.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a bunch of her videos, so I don't necessarily recall her being critical of things that could have been done better. Maybe that has happened, but it's very just her doing Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
I've brought this up a bunch. She listens to Tom Sawyer, and immediately she's like, "Whoa!" Like, he knows where to be in his chest, and he knows how to close his teeth at the end of consonants, and he's standing does something for your voice that sitting cannot, and to another level, being barefoot
Really?
even brings up the whatever standing does for you. I don't know if it's your diaphragm or whatever, but charismatic voice, it might be worth just poking around and
sure.
see. Anyway. So your mom's helping you. Your mom and your grandma are good singers. They're trying to help you.
Yeah. So my mom was
confidence-wise.
like more so trying to teach me like how to figure out what my style
Oh,
of
okay,
singing
cool.
was, and like how to kind of do that in a setting of like performing it for people. And then my grandma, she's country lady all the way, Dolly Parton,
Cool.
like Donna Summer, like everything. Like she just loves them, but she be singing while she's cooking, and she's got that, that good like country grandma. That's the way I know how to describe it. But like she really like lets rip when she sings, and I was always kind of like shy of like, my voice is high, I don't really, and she kind of helped me get that vocal confidence of like, I can belt stuff out, and then I learned how to control that. Oddly enough, from 90s country music.
Okay.
I got like really into 90s country music my senior year of high school.
Interesting.
And like Brooks and Dunn, like the growl thing that they do, like I can't even do it unless I'm like trying to sing, but like, like in Neon Moon, like Hardworking Man, like stuff like that. I started to kind of emulate that, and then I kind of built my style into that. But I've always struggled with pronunciation when I'm singing.
Okay.
And a lot of it's just because I'm thinking about so many things all at once that I just, that's the last thing on my mind is pronouncing the word. Obviously, But and with that, like a lot of the earlier shows that I did, people were like, and it was a huge compliment. Like I didn't know what to think of it because I'm doing Johnny Cash songs and I got a high voice, so people are already making fun of that. But then I'm doing Johnny Cash songs, and then they start telling me I sound like Bob Dylan because I'm like doing this real quick like delivery and starting to slur words, and I got kind of a nasally voice and everything, and I wasn't belting a whole lot, and if I did, it was real nasally, and people started telling me I was like Bob Dylan, so I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm a singer-songwriter, dude, going around with an acoustic guitar, and people are telling me I'm like Bob Dylan.
How familiar are you with the Dylan catalog?
I'm not super familiar with it. I've listened to a lot of his stuff, not so much recently. I'm sure I will after I see the movie,
right?
Because I'm just gonna hyperfixate on it all over again. But
so, give me one or two in your top 3, top 5 Dylan records.
The records, the Highway 68 is probably my favorite one, and then there, I forget what the name of it is, but he's got like a top hat on and he's going like that, and it's like a picture facing up like this, and he's got a dobro on it too. I think like the shiny.
Is it blonde on
guitar.
blonde?
Maybe.
Okay. It's older though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's 70s. I think it's 70s.
Okay.
Maybe earlier. I'm not sure. But that one I remember I really liked. But I was always more into Johnny Cash than Bob Dylan.
Sure.
I always really admired Bob Dylan's songwriting, like his lyrics and everything. But Johnny Cash was just who I more connected with, and then Elvis was more who I like wanted to be like.
You ever seen True Romance?
I don't think so.
Do you watch many movies?
Not so much anymore.
Okay.
Like what's the context of the movie? I might remember it.
I mean, it's like it's not a Tarantino film. Maybe he wrote it, but it's not full. It's not part of his catalog. But so it's got a real young Brad Pitt who plays this. He's just literally a stoner as his only role in it, and. It's got Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers, Balky from Perfect Strangers, Chris Penn, Sean Penn's brother, and God, the two primary actors' names are escaping me, but it's a love story, true romance, and so he meets her, and they set off on this adventure together, and whenever he's like basically alone in the bathroom, like washing his face or washing his hands, his inner monologue is Elvis, and he's like in the mirror behind him, like talking him up in confidence and whatever. And man, it's really annoying to me that he's a known name too, but the primary dude's name is Clarence. And there's stuff's going super crazy. He's like, "Blocked you, Clarence. Always have." It's such a good movie.
I'll have to check that out. I might have seen it before if Brad Pitt's in it.
Brad Pitt's got a very small role. Dennis Hopper plays Clarence's dad. Golly, it's a shame that I'm not remembering.
I'll have to check it out.
Very intense.
Well, if Tarantino wrote it, it's gotta be.
It's violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so good. Such a good movie. Cool. I want to get into your list, but I'm gonna hit the washroom real quick.
Yeah.
Take 5. But before we broke, I cut you off because you were like doing this Johnny, Bob, Elvis thing in terms of trying to find your style.
Yeah. I really liked, the showmanship that Elvis put on, but also that Johnny Cash put on. I tried to did the thing that he did where he
go
up the neck like that, and then I really liked how he would like point it like a gun and do that. And I tried to do that stuff, but obviously it's not gonna be as cool as Johnny Cash because he's freaking Johnny Cash. But
well, thanks again for being here. Thanks for sharing your list with me. I just roll through them in chronological release order, if that works. Sure. So we'd start in 79 with self-titled Prince. This is second of 40 for him, 9 tracks, 40 minutes. Yeah, third man. Prince record to make a list here on the podcast. One of them, not Sign of the Times. Damn it, I should have written it down. But it's a soundtrack.
Purple Rain?
No. Purple Rain has made a list, and then there's another soundtrack.
Rainbow or Graffiti Bridge?
No. It's like 3 or 4 albums.
Under the Cherry Moon?
I think it's that one.
Yeah, that's the one that came out right after Purple Rain.
Okay. So Purple Rain has made a list, Under the Cherry Moon, and now this. And Pride of Minneapolis, icon, to say the least. This knocked my shoes off. It was so stinking good. And I kept waiting. I've said this a million times on here, waiting for quality to drop off in terms.
He was like 17 when he made this, dude, and he's playing every instrument on it, and he produced it.
That's nuts.
Isn't that crazy?
So what? But what I mean is, not in the audio world, but it's like, oh, your strongest 3 tracks are 1, 2, and 3, and then everything's just track after track, just
not a bad song on it.
Unbelievable. And so, Mom was really into Prince.
Oh yeah.
So is that where you get turned on to this one, or?
So my mom and I were at the record store when I bought this album. There's a record store that I just found out about in St. Joe called the Music Exchange.
Okay.
It's super rad record store. It's
still around?
Yeah, it's like
right
a
on.
time machine. It's in the corner of this antique mall. But they got like a listening room, and then there's a bunch of magazines in there, and you can hang out. But there's just thousands of records. So, but I got really into records. Quick flashback, just because I only had that one record player growing up, and I was just so...
The piece of furniture that was here and then gone.
And I was just like, I gotta find out what that's about. Like, I just felt like a connection to it that I never really... It just got cut short. And I went to Josie's that first time, and I don't think I bought a record that first time I went there, but I was like... It made me curious about it. And my friend Rimley, who's on a completely different path with music than me, but he's got some really good friends. He's friends with the Temptations, Four Tops, Beach Boys. He's got one of my best friends, and he's introduced me to the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Righteous Brothers. I got to meet all of them. It was so cool, man. I love Motown. I love Motown so much, and they're just such great people, and I'm so thankful to have a friend like Rimley, because he bought the main guitar that I use in shows right now. Rimley bought me it from Big Dudes here in Kansas City, because I was sitting in there, and we would come, that's what I was getting at, is we would come to Kansas City every Thursday for like 3 years straight. Every single Thursday, rain or shine. Like, we got out of class, we drove to Kansas City, we went to Josie's, went to Mills, went to Revolution, went to Big Dudes, the whole circuit, every time. But he saw me in Big Dudes, and I was playing that Strat. And it's just a Squire Strat, but it was a 1999 one. And I was like, 1999 Prince. It's like, it's from the 90s, you know. They painted them different in the 90s than they do now. So like, you could kind of see that. It had a different pick guard than I had seen before, but it was a tobacco burst. And I fell in love with it, but I was like, I can't afford it. I was putting it back, and he walked up to me, and he's like, "Is it a good one?" Because he actually, my first drum set that I owned, he got from his cousin's house, because he's like, "Oh, my cousin has a drum set, but they don't play anymore." He's like, "Let's bring it over here." So he came over, and then I started teaching him how to play the drums, and that's a whole other story. But he's like, "Is this guitar a good one?" And I was like, "I like it. I think it's freaking sweet, dude." But I was like, I don't need it. Whatever. And I walked out to the car, and I just sat there. And then he comes out with the guitar, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm getting you this. This is an investment. Like, win or if you make it, like, I want to be there. And
where's he now?
He's a high school basketball coach right now.
Hell yeah. For what school?
Shoot, he's gonna kill me because I can't remember the name of it. It's a smaller school, kind of out. I think it starts with a T. But he coached. He was like an assistant coach for a like prep school. That's like kids in between college and high school that are like prospects. And he got to go all over the
Did
United
he grow
States
up hooping?
Oh yeah, he was a freak athlete in
Is he
school.
Tall?
He's a little bit shorter than me, but he was just really athletic.
Okay. He coaching boys?
Yeah.
Varsity?
Yeah. Yeah, he's they do 8-man football at that school, but he's an assistant coach for that, and then he's the head basketball
What's
coach.
that mean, 8-man football?
It's a smaller field, and there's 2 less players, because usually it's 11-man.
So 3 less?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 less. And yeah, it's just a smaller field. It's usually more...
Never heard of it.
It's a small school thing.
Sure.
But yeah, they just went to like the state playoffs this year, and it was his first year.
How long has he been coaching ball?
He's played it his whole life, and then he's kind of like helped people along the way. But he started that assistant coaching thing that he did for like 3 years, where he went around with them, and then now this is his first year of actually being like a school.
Year one.
Yeah,
The season just started, right?
Yeah, just like
Have they won any
and
games?
they had all their guys out because they were in the football playoffs, and there's a small school, so most of their guys that played football didn't play basketball, and all of that. But
So
yeah.
have they won any games? Do you know?
Yeah,
Nice.
I think they've been doing pretty decent.
Okay.
He's super excited about it. It's just
Hell yeah.
we both love music in different ways because he's not really like a musician. He's just a music fan. But we've been to so many concerts together. Me and him, we've gone on a lot of adventures just around KC. Just
This
trying to
is
find
my
music.
official extension offer to have Rimley come do an episode, if he would. I mean,
I'll tell him about
okay.
it because he'd definitely be down.
I'm in year 2 of coaching, just our private school, right a couple blocks up the road. This year I'm coaching both of my kids, which is
Stressful.
I mean, it's easier than last year because my boy can hoop, my girl can hoop too, but she just doesn't care. So I wanted her to sort of a few years ago get to a spot where she was at least in the same zip code as some of her peers. So I made her play outside of school ball, and she hated it. But then it meant when school ball came around, she made the A team. I had already been asked to coach B, both the basketball coordinator and myself, sort of quietly assuming she would be on that team. But then she made A. So last year I coached 7th grade girls B. So we had our own practice, and then my girl is on the A team, and then my son has his team. So we had 3 scheduled, 2-week practices, preseason tournament, postseason tournament, weekly games. I mean, literally basketball just consumed, the whole winter and part of the spring. And going into this year, it's now my son's playing year round. So he's on 2 teams right now. She made B this year, which she was like, I don't want to be on A again. I want to be with people of my own. She was a minute eater on A. Like, she'd come in and sub a gal and be back out pretty quickly. But I have no business coaching basketball, but it's like they needed a dude, and they're like, you should, I was like, all right, whatever. So I'd love to talk to him about music and basketball, whatever else. But he bought you this freaking guitar, and then you showed him how to play drums.
Yeah. Well, we found the drum set at his cousin's house too, but we just, like I said, we came to Kansas City every week for like 3 years.
That's so awesome.
On a Thursday, and we went to Josie's, Mills, Revolution, all the stops here in town, and got a lot of records. Like, every time we had to make sure we got at least 2.
Yeah.
Because we'd get them and we'd go back to my house and we'd just sit there all night and just listen to records, especially in the summer. We did not sleep in the summer. We just listened to records every day.
Mills has got to be, I would expect, enjoying a little uptick in business with Records with Merit closing their doors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think they already did. I mean, but
I didn't know about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Revolution moved. I don't know if they're opened back up yet or not, but they were right next to Josie's. They were really cool too. But there's
how did that start with you guys doing that?
So that's what I was gonna say. So I had known about Josie's from that one time that I went there, and we were just looking for something to do one day. So we went to Dixon's Chili Parlor in Independence because that's like a staple for my family. I was born in Independence.
Okay.
So Dixon's Chili Parlor. We hit that up, all you can eat tacos every time. That was the first place my mom went after I was born, was Dixon's Chili Parlor. And we sat there and ate tacos. And, but yeah, it's just,
wow.
It's a family sentiment, but all my close friends I've brought in there and showed them, this is something that's important to me. But we went there, and then I was like, you want to go to a record store? And he's like, sure. Because he's interested in music. I'm interested in music. And I had been buying some from thrift stores because I had a crappy little record player. And we went to Josie's, and it happened to be a record store day.
Wow.
Just randomly. I didn't know anything about it. And we went in, and I heard people talking about Mills. I was like, I didn't even know Mills existed. So we bought some stuff from Josie's, and then I asked the person I was talking about, I was like, what's Mills? And they're like, oh, dude, you gotta check Mills out. It's freaking sweet. So we put it in GPS, drove over to it in Westport, and I entered some drawings in there. And at this point in time, I only had like 5 records. And they were all from thrift stores except for the ones I bought that day. And I entered in some drawings, and one of them was a sweepstakes to win a $200 shopping spree at Mills. And I just threw my name in there, not thinking anything. I was like, oh, fun, record store day. This is new. This is fun. And I get a call a couple months later, and they're like, you won.
Wow.
And I was like one of 3 winners that won it, and that's what started my record collection. It's because I got Fluid Mac Rumors, I got Billy Squire, Emotions in Motion. I got.
They had Billy Squire in stock.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It was because it was like some leftover from record store day.
Oh yeah.
But.
That had to have been 6 records.
It was an original press.
5 or 6.
Yeah, I got a bunch. I don't even remember. I got what's the Rolling Stones album with Beasts of Burden on it?
Oh man, you're asking.
It's the one with all their faces on it, and you can pull it out, and it's got the magazine.
Fingers. I don't know.
I'm horrible with names and stuff, but I got that album, and I was super hyped about that because I love Beasts of Burden. That song's awesome. I actually have a 45 of like a live recording of Beasts of Burden, and it has like a sax solo in it.
Cool.
It's really
nice.
Sick. But yeah, that's what like kick-started it, and then. But anyway, fast forward to this.
Yeah.
We're at the Music Exchange in St. Joe, and I'm meeting the owner because he hangs out there. He's really cool. His name's Dave, and
shout out to Dave.
Yeah, Dave's awesome. But we're talking. I was like, yeah, I have Prince. I was like, I'm a huge Prince fan. And he's like, oh, I only got this one. And he pulls this one out, and it's the original press. It's got the hype sticker and the shrink wrap still on it. And I was like, what? And I saw it had I Want to Be Your Lover on it. Because I was still kind of new to Prince. I'd heard him growing up, obviously, but I didn't start actually, like, processing what music I'd connected with until I was in, like, middle school, I think. Everything else was just kind of like, ooh, I like that. That's okay. But, like, middle school is, like, whenever I was, like, that is a piece of me now. Like, with David Bowie and Prince ruled my middle school years.
Wow.
David Bowie, Let's Dance was almost my number 5 on this. But okay. I was like, if I do 5, I'm going to feel bad because I didn't pick all these other ones to be 5. I was like, I'm going to keep it even. But David Bowie and Prince ruled my middle school years, and they both died when I was in middle school. So wow. I was like, it sucked because I was like, I'll never get to see him. And Tom Petty died when I was in middle school too. So it just, those are 3 people that I was just like, I really liked that I'll just never get to see. And
I just finished going through not all first listens, but the whole Bowie discography, 27 records, and like what a journey. Mm-hmm. I mean, so much good stuff.
Have you watched the documentary that they put out for the Black Star album?
No, that's what got me started on that. Is that Black Star was on somebody's list, and I listened to it, and I was like, "What in the absolute fuck was this?"
You gotta check out the music videos; they're crazy.
Well, and he was sick, and like didn't. So, one of the most amazing discographies ever. For me is and it's one some of them I knew, like I know Ziggy back, I know Let's Dance, I mean, but a lot of them were first listens. So one of the most impressive discographies. And then for Petty, I argue he has the best 3 album run in American rock history, which is Full Moon Fever, Into the Great Wide Open, Wildflowers.
That is pretty stacked lineup.
Like I was a kid, like middle school, I rode my bike to the mall, the same mall I took my daughter to today, and like I was staying at my dad's house, so I borrowed my stepmom's goofy triangle seat with springs, lady, crossbar and big hand, and bought. This is the start of my cassette collection. I bought Led Zeppelin 4 and Billy Joel, "Innocent Man," and rode back to the house and went down in the basement. And my dad had a guitar. I would try to mess around with that, but listen to those. So then it was just anytime I got money, I've just gone,
Yeah, that was us every Thursday.
Full Moon Fever comes out, and I'm like, this is life changing. I mean, it helped that it had 3 huge hits on it. But when Into the Great Wide Open came out, I was like, but why would you even bother putting out another record after that one? And then I listened to that, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Life changing in a different way. Wildflowers comes out. I'm like, you're still, and then just what? So good. But I never really messed around with Prince much.
He's got a lot of records.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ones that still aren't released yet that are either
40 of them.
Either vaulted or he would do this thing where he would have house parties. Like Prince is known for his parties, but at the parties he'd give out cassettes.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is my demo. This is this is the album I threw together.
Have you seen the Chappelle Show skit?
Yeah.
Where you guys want to play some basketball? He gives them all like Prince outfits. Yeah. And then just cooks.
Yeah. Well, and he could too.
Yeah.
Like anytime anybody ever made fun of me for liking Prince, I'm like, dude, you have nothing on Prince.
I didn't know when Purple Rain came out. My good buddy Mike was like, I'm rising from the novice ranks in the terms of just music knowledge. I'm like, yeah, this guy's got all these hits out off this record, but he's just a vocalist. And my buddy's like, he plays guitar too. And I was like, he does not play guitar. I obviously learned that was wrong. But have you seen the While My Guitar Gently Weeps?
Oh yeah.
Where
legendary.
Everybody kind of takes a
he
little.
He falls back on his security guard and he's playing, and then gets up.
And all the other dudes are like, "What is happening?"
Well, Petty's face in that is hysterical because he's just like, "Yep, he's gonna fry it, man. He's just gonna kill it."
Yeah.
And
well, this was, it's funky, but it's not like a funk record. It's got like some soul. It's got pop. It's got.
My favorite thing about songwriting is disguising things. Because like I said, it's always been an outlet for me, but it's also something that you have to be vulnerable to put out. And I want to share it with people, but I don't always want to share everything about it with people unless they're willing to dig for it.
Right.
So a lot of the songs that I write have little Easter eggs in them to either song titles that inspire me. Like Could Have Stayed, the chorus for Could Have Stayed is... I do this all the time. Or like if I don't start the beginning of the song, then I can't sing the rest of it.
I get you.
But it has I want to be your lover, up all night, sleep all day. I wish we could have stayed. It's the last lines of the chorus. I want to be your lover.
Yeah.
This album.
Slaughter.
Up all night, sleep all day. Slaughter.
And then what's the?
And then I wish we could have stayed is the title.
This
of my
year.
song.
Okay. Cool.
So those two songs. That song's really about processing. Like it sounds like a party song of like. When we were so much younger, nothing to do but wonder. Sit in, stuck in yesterday. I wish we could have stayed. Sharpie tattooed her number. I want to be your lover. Up all night, sleep all day. I wish we could have stayed. That's the whole chorus. And it, at face value, love song, meet a girl. She gives me her number. Oh yeah, party time. But like deep down, it's like that's me processing. Like I'm not in high school anymore.
Right.
Like looking back at it sentimentally, and. Dealing with that. And with a lot of the songs, I'll disguise it as a love song, or I'll disguise it as a different type of story.
Cool.
But at face value, it just looks like that.
Yeah.
But if you read the lyrics, you find the Easter eggs of the song titles or other things that I've just talked about, or if you listen to them all in order, you can see me processing the things that I'm going through. So I'm so excited to actually start working on an album with these songs, because some of these songs have been sitting on for 3 or 4 years.
So you got the hookup with that Rhino deal to have your single recorded. Where will you go?
We're hoping to work with them with Riley on getting an album put together. doing some construction on their studio right now, but I'm hoping once they get that cleared up, we can start getting everything cooked up for that.
Well, you mentioned being vulnerable. I don't know. It's fascinating choice to me anytime somebody does a self-titled record that's not their debut. Yeah. So he went self-titled in the 2 slot and then got the do rocking, and he's freaking shirtless.
Well, have you seen the back of this record?
No.
So the back of this record is him on a horse naked that they made it look like a unicorn, and it was like a Polaroid picture, like
funny.
A film picture, so it's all grainy, but that's the back of the album.
Okay.
So this is what you see on the front.
Yeah.
And then the back is some dude on a unicorn, and it's just
wow.
Like, but that's him.
Yeah.
Like if he saw a vision for it, if he wanted to do something with it, like he always made sure he had the liberty to express himself.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about Bowie. And that's what I like about a lot of the artists that I really connect with, is that they aren't afraid to push that. They aren't afraid to be themselves. But also when it comes to covers, I know we kind of talked about that earlier, of when I was solo, I did a lot more covers just because you got to fill the set.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my good friends, David Red, he's a musician out in California. He is so good. His debut album, it almost was on this list. It's one of my favorite albums I've ever listened to.
What's it called?
Somewhere Else.
Somewhere Else, David Red.
It's
okay.
so good. It's so good. Front to back, not a bad song on it. But he really inspired me. I haven't met him in person yet. We've known each other online for years.
How?
Just came across him. I literally saw him singing the single for Somewhere Else. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. If I had a band, like, this is a dream. Like, your life is a dream. Like, this is incredible. He's like, oh, thank you so much. And then we built a friendship over the next couple of years. And eventually when he released the album, he sent it to me on vinyl and wrote me a note and everything. And we've been really good friends.
That's awesome.
Ever since. And he's helped me grow a lot as a musician. And we bounce ideas off each other a lot. But with him, he always does his covers. He makes it his own. And that was really inspiring with me. That's something Prince did with every cover that he ever did. Like when he did Creep during the Super Bowl halftime show.
Okay.
He made it a Prince song. When he did Everlong, he made it a Prince song.
Folks often, that's just around the corner. Whenever Super Bowl halftime artists and shows come up, that's like the big. There's a lot of talk about past performances. Whenever that happens, there seems to be a pocket of folks that are like undeniably the best.
Oh yeah.
Super Bowl half. Do you agree? Yeah.
I really loved everything that they just faced. Like everything happened perfectly, but also it was a disaster at the same time.
Because it rained, poured rain.
Yeah, and he's
right?
out there in heels with his dancers, and they're just ripping it, dude. It was perfect, but he could be getting electrocuted the whole time. We don't even know that, but you can't tell.
Groin, yeah.
You can't tell.
Yeah. Well, a Prince discography is probably an episode that I'll have to have at some point with somebody. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's you if you want to come back for one.
Definitely be down. But like this record, after I got it, I still have it. It's still probably one of my favorite records I own, and I've worn like some of the grooves off of it. I listen to it sometimes.
I listen to these in release order as well. So I finished this, and I was like, I mean, I know some of what's on your list, but I led off with this, and I was like, the next 3 are automatically dog shit.
Well, it's just with this, like what I was kind of saying earlier. There's just so much hidden behind the love song mask.
Yeah.
It's, he's dealing with so much that you can't even really tell until you read the lyrics. But like, I Want to Be Your Lover, he wrote that song about being in love with one of his bandmates. And there's a whole thing you can watch on that.
Wow.
It's really interesting, but like, obviously that didn't work out. Why You Want to Treat Me So Bad, I'm sure it's the same thing, but it's a funk song,
Yeah.
You're dancing to it. Sexy Dancer, that song is a club song all the way. Like, try to listen to this album and stay still. It's impossible.
Oh, dude.
But you also, at the same time, if you like sit down and listen to the lyrics, you're just like, I don't know if I want to cry or like jump in the air and do the splits.
Try listening to this album while taking notes.
Oh yeah.
You're not getting far because you want to just the pen immediately. You're like,
Oh yeah. And when we're dancing close and slow, my record player that I had at the time with this was one of the cheapo like briefcase Crossley ones, but I loved the fact that it has a pitch adjuster on it, and I would always turn it way down low on this song because it just made it hit so much more. The when we're dancing close and slow, but the break in the middle of it where he's like playing the piano, it's so blissful and open, but it's like heartbreaking at the same time. It's like, I don't know, like I said, I imagine a lot of stuff, but like, it's like you're falling in love, but you're like dying at the same time. But that's what I feel when I listen to that song. And that's one of my favorite things about music, and I really try to market that with the band, is poetry and art is made to be interpreted.
Yeah.
Every single person has lived a different life. Every single person sees things differently. Every single person feels things differently. But it can be from the same story. And that's my favorite thing about playing live is when people come up to me after a show and they talk to me and they're like, hey, I really connected with that. And I'm like, well, what did you think of the story? And then they're telling me what they thought of it. And then I talk to somebody else and someone completely different. And both of those are different than what I felt.
Right.
Or like if I listen to this and I listen to When We're Dancing Close and Slow and I feel like it's falling in love and dying at the same time, but you listen to it and it reminds you of like a happy memory of like...
Reminds me of when I was naked on a unicorn for a photo shoot.
Yeah, but like, everybody connects with it differently, and we're trying to do something with the band where we're doing an artist interpretation series where a lot of my friends that are local artists or people that we meet, we're connecting with them and sending them the demos that we have for some of our songs with the lyrics, and then they have free range to do whatever they want for their art, any media, any style, as long as it can be digitized. And we send them that, and then they make it, and they just got to make a little video of them doing it and then talking about what they thought of it. And then we're going to use that for like merchandise and stuff and like make posters and stuff. And then if we end up putting the singles out individually at some point, then we'll use that as the cover art for the singles and make a little EP called Interpretations. And then it'll be that, and then we'll have the artist interviews on there with it, so that it's kind of a piece of art that somebody can have and a song. So like if you had if we made a CD of it, you could prop it up and you can look at it and it's a cool art piece.
Yeah.
But then you can listen to the artist talk about how the song affected them.
Nice.
And how it affected us from hearing us play it.
I had Jesse Cates from the Sexy Accident do an episode with me, and one of their albums goes with
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so like you put it on and listen to it, and then there's a game happening. Cool. Yeah.
See, I love stuff like that. It's so cool. I'm really big on expressing yourself with everything.
Heck yeah.
And finding new ideas. But this album got me through high school. Like I listened to this album probably every night for a whole year.
Wow.
And I remember one time my cat like jumped on it while it was playing.
Oh
and
no.
I was like, oh crap. And I'm pretty sure that's how I got one scratch in it, but it's just, every single song on this album I have a moment that I can remember.
So where in the home in high school are you listening to records?
I got the whole basement at my mom's house.
Finished?
Yeah, it was a finished basement.
With a bathroom?
Yeah, I basically had my own apartment.
Yeah.
But we moved in my sophomore year, and it was this house out in the country because my mom's a goat farmer.
Okay.
And but yeah, at first it was like, you can have the bedroom down there, and you can have some of that, and then eventually I took over. And there's just heavy metal posters everywhere. There's records all over the walls. Yeah, as we've been moving, I've been getting more and more of it kind of sorted out. But
so you had a record player down there, and you wouldn't
record
throw
player,
headphones on.
stereo system. Because my mom, like, she went through a lot hearing me whenever I was first starting out, because I was just, I'm down there figuring myself out. But she found a way to sleep through it. And same with my dad. I mean, whenever he got me that computer and everything, I'd be up all night trying to make stuff on that, and then throwing it up on SoundCloud, and having zero self-control with trying to figure out if it was ready to be put out or not. I'd just be so excited. I'd send it to 40 people at 3 a.m. and be like, what do you think? Waking people up like, hey, I just made a song. And yeah, I was a nightmare to have as a friend whenever I was then, because I was just so it was very exciting. Yeah. Everything was so new.
Well, we're gonna take a leap to from 79 to 87. Hysteria, 4th of 12 tracks, 62 minutes, from Minnesota to Sheffield, England. Pyromania made a list in the teens, and my guy Duke Ross from episode 80 had Hysteria on his list. So this is a second time for this record to appear. I have so my folks split in the early 80s, both remarried quickly, and the dude my mom married, he got transferred, so we're in Atlanta, and they like built a new house. We like lived somewhere while it was being built, and then we had cable, and it was like literally the birth of MTV.
Oh yeah.
And so Rock of Ages, like I would stay up.
That music video is badass.
Well, it's not if you go back and watch it now. It's very, very dated, but back then it was like the coolest.
He's got the sword.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, there were times I swore I logged 24 hours on MTV trying to just catch it, because every time I would, turn it on or turn the channel, and it's like the final 10 seconds where the little paragraph of credits, but it's like, no!
Yeah.
So anyway, when Hysteria comes out, I'm like, got all of my spiral notebooks and my 3-ring binders. I'm perfecting the Van Halen symbol and writing Def Leppard. I remember a couple people were like, Def Leppard? And I was like, yeah, what do you mean? Def Leppard kicks ass.
They do.
And so Hysteria comes out, and I don't know how to feel about it because of...
They went pop.
It's not Rock of Ages. I mean, Rock of Ages was pop-ish when that came out, and then a few years later. Anyway, there's a lot that I could say about this album, but I will only say Animal and Hysteria have forever an immovable special place. I will never tire of those songs. But you talked about your dad teaching you how to play a basic lick of the title track. Tell me, why else is this one special for you?
So my mom and I, like I mentioned, our CD book, we had the Vault, the Def Leppard Vault CD that had all their greatest hits on it.
Okay.
And literally murdered that CD. We played it so much. Same with the Mass Slaughter, the greatest hits of Slaughter. Just both those CDs toast.
Def Leppard's a nice little island between metal and rock.
Yeah.
And it's like they're hard rock, but they do have a little bit of that hair flash somewhere in there.
But it's just, this album to me is another one that's just, I tried to pick ones that are just front to back. I couldn't find a single thing.
No skips for you?
Yeah, no skips.
You got to be kidding me.
I love every song on this album. And
there's a couple on there that are way less accessible.
Which ones?
Well, I'd have to see it back because I don't have the track listing with me. I mean, I definitely could die happy never hearing "Pour Some Sugar on Me" again.
Okay.
Overplayed, but it was amazing when it came out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's you got to see it at the face value for what it was.
Sure.
Like that was a monumental piece of
history. Absolutely.
And I totally understand.
But then it got ruined by the next massive track that they had, which was...
Was it Photograph?
No. After Pour Some Sugar on Me, on the next record. It was like so cringe, but it was popular. It was real popular. I will have to look it up after, and I'll throw it in the notes. But so let me just say, all of side 2, except for Hysteria, except for the title track, are there. It's like a different vibe.
I think that's where, because you see a lot more with when the label really, you could tell that labels had like strangleholds on a lot of groups. The B-sides where they get more kind of artistic with stuff, and I see this album as kind of more so a journey, even though it was a super commercial made album. Like this album was made,
But there's some of the, like, dude, to open up a record with the hits that are on
yeah,
with women and all the, like, is that the one with static? There's some static, and then all of a sudden you get the drum beat.
I think that's Rocket.
That's Rocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Women goes through a big transition
Yeah.
as well, and it slays.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, it's a great song. I really like on this one too. I was listening to it today.
Nice.
I was trying to go through everything so I could be fresh whenever we talked about it. But I really like when albums do the thing in between songs where it's got kind of the segue.
Yeah.
Because I think it makes it more of a story.
Absolutely.
And with this one having, Rocket, Armageddon it, Gods of War, Don't Shoot Shotgun, Run Riot, like a lot of that's dealing with like a deeper thing of like all the violence and stuff that is going on. And, they're getting targeted by the parental advisory thing, the Tipper Gore thing for being violent because of pyromania. And
interesting.
they're trying. I think I see it as trying to be more empathetic towards that.
Have you gone down that PMRC rabbit hole on YouTube?
I've watched some of it. I've listened to my dad talk a lot about just what it was like being alive during all that. And
do you know the
I'm
big
so
three that went to Congress?
It's Prince, Darling Nikki.
No. The three artists that went.
Oh, I know D. Snyder was there. Who else was it?
John Denver.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about John Denver.
Frank Zappa.
Yeah, I did not remember Frank Zappa, but I remember John Denver.
You gotta watch. I mean, D. Snyder and John Denver showed up with like a little bit of homework. Frank Zappa like has a briefcase and just destroy all the dudes are like, we gotta get this guy out of here, like, because it is it's so good. Anyway, so they're being targeted. Def Leppard is.
Yeah, because weren't they like real mad about saying that Pyromania was like a super violent album because of the album cover?
Yeah, which is just a skyscraper with a scope and an explosion.
Yeah, it's an action movie basically.
It's video game action movie.
But the melodies on this album are just insane. Everybody brought their A game, and this was the one that was like they didn't know if they were gonna make it.
Well, they
because
become
Rick just lost his arm before they went into this, and then he invents all the stuff for the drums that he needed to even be there.
He had to seriously recover first, as a human, because he got kind of fucked up in that accident.
Yeah,
kind of definitely.
But it's just seeing all the adversity that they faced channeled into this, and then for it to be one of the great albums of all time, arguably. Dude. I would definitely put it there. But I'd just everything I feel
dude,
like
even Love Bites. That robot opening voice, and then by the time Joe Elliott is hitting the high note, like if you're not singing right there along with him, see your doctor.
Yeah.
I gotta say that I brought it up before, but I still haven't found the clip because I came across it one day and was enamored by it, and then it drifted into the ether with everything else. But it's like a tailgate scene, like at Arrowhead or somewhere. But people are out eating, playing bags, playing coin, like just a full on. And the clip, I feel like the clip opens with those opening guitar, the riff, and then they pan to like this big group of people in their spot right as the chorus, and everybody, I get it. It's like, dude, yeah, the world loves this song, and we were never wrong for loving the heck out of it. Such a good tune.
I remember when we saw him, the first time I saw him at Starlight, I didn't even know what to think of it because it was just so big, and I just listened to them for so long that the fact that they were right in front of me just blew my mind. I didn't sing along, I didn't speak, I didn't move. I was just like in a trance. I couldn't believe it was happening.
What year was that?
2015.
Okay.
And
Do you know all 12 of their records?
I've probably listened to all of them.
On Through the Night, High and Dry. You know those first.
There's the EP before On Through the Night too.
Oh, I forget about that.
Because that one had it had 4 songs on it.
Okay. But you know those first 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Pyromania, Hysteria. Then I lose track after.
I have for Hysteria. They did a 45 thing where when they released it, each piece had a different part of the cover art, and you could put it together. I have almost all of it. I'm missing 3 pieces for it.
What is the song that has a music video where there's like a Lego-y kind of animated dude?
That's Do You Want to Get Rocked?
That song.
Or Let's Get Rocked.
That's the one. That was the after Pour Some Sugar on Me. I was like, you got to be kidding me with this.
But as a 13-year-old,
I sang along.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this is me. I'm that kid. And then, you get older and it's like, it's a good pop song. Yeah,
but so to go from, Rock of Ages and Photograph, and there's another track or two.
Photograph's one of the best songs of all time.
On Pyromania.
I love Photograph.
Then to Hysteria, which is like, wow. And then to go to Pour Some Sugar on Me is on this. That's kind of like, whoa, that was crazy. And then that, I was like, God.
The music video is a little trippy.
Yeah.
It freaked me out the first time I watched it.
Oh, man.
I love Def Leppard, though. I don't know if I would be in music if it wasn't for Def Leppard.
Awesome.
And the Wiggles.
The Wiggles, right. So we're going to skip ahead to 94 with One of One for Mr. Jeff Buckley. Grace, of course. 10 tracks, 51 minutes. Love firsts here on the program. And
this is seriously the first time?
I love any and all firsts. If it's a first-time artist, a first-time record, it's fun because that you would think you would by now.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
157.
Yeah. But this is a first. This is this. If memory serves, right? I created at some point a spreadsheet where it's like Lucas and then your list and when and what did I use for the intro and outro audio and all that. And I got not very far, but I want to have access so that I don't have to thumb through notes to see. So I was struggling with your episode because I was like, I know somebody had Hysteria, but I couldn't place it. And I went through the Instagram and I couldn't see the album art. And I was like, I wonder if I just Google Badass Records podcast Def Leppard. Boom, right there. I was like, maybe I don't need to make that spreadsheet. But so I believe this is the first 157 episodes in, Jeff Buckley. So from the UK back to the States, California to be specific, why has this guy's lone recording resonated with so many people?
He's an anomaly, really. Isaiah calls him a unicorn, and not even to get back onto the Prince.
I was going to go there if you didn't.
But Isaiah and I have had a lot of conversations about Jeff Buckley in the last year or two because I don't know how, but up until the end of 2022, I had never heard of Jeff Buckley. I don't know how. I'd probably heard Hallelujah. I'd probably heard Grace at some point, but it just never stuck. And then I wear some crazy shirts at shows. Because he's got the gold jacket on and everything, and he always either wore flannel or something crazy shiny or stuff like that. And that's a little bit of the Elvis thing too coming out. But
like you, Clarence, always have.
But the Bob Dylan thing kind of grew off of me. I stopped hearing that. I'd heard it for a couple years, and I never really like
from others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, just from people that were in the audience. And then I didn't really care. Like, it was just like something like, oh wow, I can't believe you thought that. Like, that's a huge compliment. But then people started being like, hey, you kind of look like Jeff Buckley. You kind of sound like Jeff Buckley. And I was like, huh? And I had a throat surgery in 2022. At the end of 2022, I had a thyroglossal cyst that was the size of a golf ball. And we'd booked a bunch of these charity shows right at the end of the year. And I had done a bunch of the planning for him with Daniel Owen here in Kansas City. He's a radio guy. We worked together on those a ton. And then I had this thing flare up. And I didn't even know about it. I always thought it was my Adam's apple. But I went to it was my dad's birthday party. And he's like, "Yes, I'm wrong with it." And he was like feeling it. And my dad works in the medical field. My mom did too. And ended up getting it checked out as a cyst. Had to get it removed, but then I was on vocal rest for a while. But it got to the point where my vocal fatigue at that year was so bad. Like, those last two shows, like, it took everything I had. One of them was at the Record Bar, and it took everything I had to get through that. And then the next one was at the St. Joe Skate Bar, and I had to have somebody come in and fill in for half of my set because my voice just went out because of that.
Dang.
So then I've kind of been over the last couple of years.
Had Steve Tulipana on. He did an episode, Record Bar owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was fascinating. Great dude.
Is that yeah, I'll have to ask you a question about that later. But yeah, I've just been kind of, my voice changed a lot.
I bet.
And I was like, maybe that's when my
had
voice
your
was
throat
always
cut
so
open.
high, because I had a golf ball, but I had to change how I sung, and that's why I can't really do that Brooks and Dunn growl thing anymore. After
sure.
that, I couldn't do it anymore,
Yeah.
and I was like, but after that surgery, as I started finding my voice again, it changed. I got more confident in it. I started singing differently, and then that's when people stopped saying I sound like Bob Dylan and started saying more of the Jeff Buckley stuff. I by no means consider myself anywhere in the stratosphere of Jeff Buckley. He is an incredible vocalist. If I ever even get to a fraction of what he is, I will be nothing more than grateful.
You said you wear some crazy stuff to shows, meaning your own shows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can check out our Instagram page.
What about when you go to shows as a fan right now?
I used to have like hair down to my shoulders, and I would get all dressed out and everything. And
How?
bandana, sunglasses. I had these clip-on earrings that I used to make that I'd wear. I had like the leather gauntlets and everything. I had the bell bottoms on. I had the chains and everything.
Wow.
And I got a battle jacket that I have that's got a bunch of patches. I bought it from somebody who she was having some health issues and she needed some money. And I bought it from her. And she's like, "You got to promise me you're not going to sell it." I was like, "I would never sell this. This is a priceless piece of history." And not to be a sentimental creature, but like, knowing that it had such an impact on her life, I was like, I'm going to keep this forever. Like, this is going to be mine. And I added some more patches to it, obviously. But
So when was the last show you were at?
Morris Day and the Time at the Uptown.
Why do I know that name?
It's the other band from Purple Rain.
Okay. Yeah. When?
Was it last year? It might have been like April-ish last year.
What'd you wear to that?
Prince t-shirt and black jeans.
Okay.
And I had on Black Sabbath Converse.
Nice. Do you ever get the shirt of the band?
Every time.
No. You're at home. You're getting ready to go to the show. Do you ever put the shirt of the band you're going to see on?
Yeah, so Isaiah and I are big 1975 fans, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the first time we got to see him, I'll talk more about it later, but the last time that we saw him, we had to wait in the rain for that show, and I had on the first shirt that I wore, the second shirt I wore, and then I bought the third shirt, and I had that on and everything. And I used to, every show that I went to, I would bring the cassette that I had from that artist to the show, just so I could say that it was there. I don't know why I did that, if it's some kind of weird thing, but like always, every time I had to have some piece of that with me. So like when I saw Bon Jovi a couple years ago, and I had the Bad Medicine cassette in my pocket the whole show. which I saw Enough's Enough and Faster Pussycat. That was one of my first shows I went to as a like person that can go to shows without their parents.
Yeah.
And it was at this bar in Independence, and me and Rimley went to it, and we got to meet Chips Enough, and we pretty much got to meet all of both bands because they were there. One of them got stuck, and they had to get there, and we were just sitting in the bar waiting, and Chips sitting at the bar, and I walk up to him, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm such a big fan, like, I'd love to shake your hand. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he talked to me for like 20 minutes. And then he met up with me again at the end. Because he got to the point where everybody was so chill. Like, we were just in the bar. Everybody's walking around and everything. And just, I'm sitting there at the table. And all the guys from Faster Pussycat are sitting there. And we're all just talking. And, but Chip signed that cassette on all of it. And I took a picture with him. And it's hanging up at home now. But
Nice.
I always brought that stuff with me.
So Jeff Buckley's an anomaly. He's an incredible vocalist.
And a great guitar player.
And a great
very underrated guitar player.
So you'd never heard of him until...
So yeah, that's the funniest thing about my relationship to Jeff Buckley is people had started saying things about either me looking like him or sounding like him or dressing like him. And I was just like, oh, thanks. Yeah. And I was backstage at a show, and somebody came up to me and like genuinely was like, you remind me of somebody. And they were like thinking, they're like, you look a lot like Jeff Buckley. And I was like, oh, did you know him? Because it was a showcase thing in the town, so there's a bunch of different musicians there. It was like a charity thing. And I was like, oh, did you know him? Is he going to be here? And he's like, oh, no, he's dead. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And he's like, I didn't know him. And I was just like, what? And he's like, yeah, check this out. And I got home and I listened to Grace, and I was like, oh, my God.
You thought he was talking about just some dude.
I just thought it was somebody. Because we were all talking about people that, like, everybody's having a conversation about different people that they wish were there or that they knew. And then he came up to me, and in the context of it, it sounded like that. But then when I said that, he's like, oh, no, like, dude, you got to check this out. And Jeff Buckley changed me as a musician.
Really?
Yeah, I've never connected to somebody like, and then even people that were in my older bands started texting me stuff about it all around the same time, and I'd never brought it up to anybody. Like, people would just tell me, and I'd just be like, oh yeah. But then more people tell me stuff, send me videos of Jeff Buckley walking around like doing this dumb thing.
Dude, when something happens and like in threes, like if somebody says that to you and then 8 days later and then 2 weeks after that, it's
so weird.
You're like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was so weird. But like, even like I was saying, my old bandmates were sending me videos of just candid videos of Jeff Buckley, or like where he was practicing with his band, he was doing some quirky thing, and it was like something that I used to do in our band practice, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who he was.
Kindred spirits.
And then Isaiah, he's talking to me. Isaiah's been a Jeff Buckley fan since he was in high school, and somehow we never talked about it. And then I'm like, dude, have you heard of Jeff Buckley? He's like, dude, you don't know who freaking Jeff Buckley is? And I'm like, he's incredible. Like, this is like it. I've never had an album just shoot right up to like my top favorites of all time, like so Grace has.
How many front to back listens do you think you've given this record?
He was my top artist on Spotify for 2023. I think I had like, I'd have to look, but it was probably a couple thousand, maybe even 10,000 minutes listening to that. And then I also got it on vinyl on Record Store Day this year. And then Isaiah got me his posthumous release, the My Sweetheart the Drunk. That's got all of his stuff that he was working on right before he died. Okay. It was supposed to be his second album.
Oh.
He got me that for Christmas.
And
it's so good.
Is it really?
It's so good.
Just this a week and a half ago? Okay, Wow.
It was actually last band practice because it didn't get shipped to his house on time. And then we were like getting everything packed up, and he runs in. He's like, "Hold on, I got your present. And I opened it, like, "Oh my God, dude!" No. And but yeah, it's been a really weird connection to Jeff Buckley, considering I didn't really know him. I wasn't raised with him, but then all of these similarities. And then as I listened to him more, I started to hear more in, things that I've written or tendencies that I've had, and then I tried to kind of like I was saying, like what my mom did, like listen to him and learn from him.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me kind of get out of a plateau or whatever you might
Sure.
call it of what I was as just a singer songwriter
Right.
to now with a band, learning how to process that transfer.
So when you and your then girlfriend were driving around and Sentimental Creatures, the album came on, how did you describe it? As like gospel or
Yeah, it's like a Christian worship album.
So you mentioned that it comes on, and then at some point you said something about after church.
Yeah.
So like religion has a presence in your life.
Yeah. That's another thing I've just been really trying to work on is building my relationship with God and trying to, learn more about him, but also kind of build my life up better, kind of fix things that I needed to work on through growing in scripture and everything.
Does this come from mom or dad or both, or just something that you...
Both of my parents are like, they've gone to church and stuff, but neither one are like super religious. But it's
Jim
just...
Gaffigan called his wife in one of his very first stand-up comedy specials a Shiite Catholic. She's like beyond super Catholic. She's a Shiite Catholic. But so they went to church, but were never wildly devoted.
Yeah, like my dad was in Catholic school. I was in Catholic school for a little bit, but I didn't stay in it. And then my mom, I think she kind of grew up Baptist, I think.
Okay.
But I had some convictions, and I prayed a lot about it, and as I started to get more involved with it, I started to be able to see God work more in my life.
Mm.
And
I mean, we've touched on a few things where I'm like, what?
It's really
like Jeff Buckley.
It's really powerful. It's been really powerful being able to take a step back with a new perspective of like things I've battled before with like depression, anxiety, everything like that, and all the stuff that I've been through in my life and tried to process, and all the times, when you feel lonely, isolated, that like once you begin to grow with that, you don't have to feel that anymore.
So where Paige, is she also, does she have religion in her life?
Yeah, she was a big influence on me, of just, I saw her relationship with God, and how that changed her life and made it better for her and got her out of some tough situations that she was in.
Okay.
And I saw the way that I was handling things, and I was like, I
gotta get a little of this God on me too.
Well, I was like, I can do better.
Sure.
Everybody has their vices. Everybody, has things that they run to and things go wrong.
Yep.
And I wanted to change some of that.
Okay.
I noticed some self-destructive things that I was starting to do, whether it was mentally or physically, and I was just like, I want to be better. I want to be better. I want to build this relationship with God. I want to see how that grows in my life and how my perspective can change. And just in the last couple of years of trying to learn and grow more with it, it's just been absolutely incredible.
Cool. Cool.
And it's helped me deal with things in a different way, whether it's with other people or with situations of just, if it doesn't go how I planned, if it doesn't go how I wanted to, if somebody got hurt, if something was successful, if something went great, that's all part of the plan that he's got for me at some point. And I'm excited to see what he's got planned, no matter what's up or down.
Do you two want to have kids?
Yeah.
And do you, feel free to say it's none of my business, feel that we, as humans in relationships where we are producing offspring, do we get to manipulate that at all, or just how it goes is how it was supposed to go? Is that too personal?
Well, I believe, every person is a sum of who they surround themselves with. If your friends all do one thing and you've got that common interest, you're going to do that thing too.
Yeah.
And with parents especially, I mean, just talking about all the musical influences, it's a really special thing to have a relationship with your own child, especially whenever, you come together to make that child. And, you want to set a good example for your kids. You want to be a good leader. You want to teach them how to be a good leader.
Yeah.
And, you set that example of what you did with all the lessons that you've learned in life and how you grow through that and how you overcome. And eventually they'll see that, and if they want to follow that example, then they can. And I just want to set them up with what's
Sure.
worked for me to get me out of the holes that I dug myself. And ultimately that's between them and God with their relationship that they have. I hope that our kids have a good relationship with God. But I just want to do the best that I can to set that example for my friends and my family.
So where I'm going is person A and person B start a life together and they have kids, but they say we're having 2 and no more after 2. Next door neighbors are like, we'll have as many kids as God's going to bless us with. And it's possible that both sets of people are looking at their next door neighbor and have some judgment. Like the family with the 7 kids might say, that's not for you to decide, that's for God to decide. And this family might say, having 7 kids is irresponsible. Do you have
God gives you free will, and that's what love is. If he made it to where you had to do every single thing and you didn't have a choice, that wouldn't be love. And God loves you, and that's why he gives you the free will. And being a Christian, like you aren't called to judge. That's not your job.
No, absolutely.
You're called to, love everyone. You want to respect everyone.
I like that answer a lot.
Obviously, have discernment with that. If somebody's taking advantage of you, then identify that, but still love them.
Yeah.
Forgive them, because God forgives you every day.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, if you sin, everything, that's between you and God. And if somebody's living their life a certain way, be there for them. Love them. Set an example for them.
Last one, and then we're going to turn to the God channel. One of my favorite things that I don't know that it was said to me or if I was just there or I consumed it from somewhere else, but this notion that God never gives you anything that you can't handle is like, so here's that statement. Just we're looking at it from afar. Oh, that's an interesting statement. And then there are times where you're like, that actually might jive with how life has happened. But then there's also things that you go through where you have moments where you're like, this is too much. I can't handle this. And
sometimes God knows your capacity. He's not going to give, he knows your capacity, he knows your comfort. He's not going to give you something outside of your capacity. But if he does give you something that feels like that, that's an opportunity for you to, in your relationship with God, find the fact that you're not alone and that the person that's going to get you through that is God, and that he's trying to show you that he's there for you, and that even though that you might not be able to see yourself handling this, you can, because he's with you. He's going to get you through that, but you have to have faith in him. And it's a lesson in the fact of, it's showing you you can't do it alone. And human instinct is to do it.
So the saying is accurate.
Yeah.
I
totally agree with it.
I lied. One more, and then we're got to go to a different neighborhood. So my parents, raised Catholic. We were raised Catholic. My ex and I are raising our kids Catholic, which it looks different from generation to generation, and the world is a different place, and so much is different. But when I was a kid,
strict.
Not like what my parents went through.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like the idea of strict was kind of always around. Mm-hmm. You didn't necessarily see it directly, but it was around. It was palpable. What my interest is in the word pray, because when I was a kid, that meant precisely that, and there was no other sort of way.
And that's something, because I mentioned I went to Catholic school when I was in second grade, which I know.
Well, so here's where I'm going with this. We prayed in church. We were taught how to pray. My parents, they had too much happening to barely even deal with their own lives. Mm-hmm. But there was definitely a time as a very little person where I would kneel at my bed at bedtime and pray. And there were no requirements.
Yeah.
You didn't even you could inside voice or say it out loud, whatever. But that's what that meant forever in my mind until it didn't. And now, language and society, language just changes. I mean, so many things either have, multiple meanings now or don't mean the one thing they used to mean, but people say, I'm going to pray for you. That's a thing that gets thrown around in real life, on social media, wherever. And it always strikes me as weird, because where I immediately go with that is, okay, so does that mean you're going to kneel with folded hands and reflect on the thing that you just said or is it just, are we allowed to just, like, I'm walking to the edge of the driveway and getting the morning paper and I think about Lucas and how he broke his leg and I'm saying a prayer for him and it lasted 1.3 seconds.
Well, the thing that, because I had a similar perspective to that, whenever I first started trying to learn more about it, I had that same thought process. And the thing that changed everything for me with that was it's a relationship. You and God have a relationship. Just like you and I, we have a friendship. If I text you and tell you, like, hey, hope you have a good day, that makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
So taking time, you don't have to, now it's important to pray, and the Bible says to
formally, if you will.
Well, and the Bible says to, if you're going to, take that time out of your day to give to God, to isolate yourself, to have that one-on-one connection with Him.
Make it count.
But the important thing about prayer is the fact that God gave you the ability, you have the opportunity to talk to the creator of the universe and everything in it. Like, just think about how amazing that is.
So I guess my question for you is, does it ever bother you that word can be so... do you know what I mean?
God knows your intentions of your heart.
Okay.
And if somebody says that as just like a courtesy, that's between them and God. Like, everybody's relationship is different, but that's why it's important. If you get stuck in a system of I have to do it this way, then that might cut you out of having that connection with God of just like, hey, thank you for getting me to work.
Like you cutting today. In with the percussion on your guitar. Yeah. Like, I gotta get rid of that.
Yeah, like it's a relationship, and that's what changed my perspective on it. Of there's obviously rules you have to follow that the Bible tells you on how to carry yourself and in life and with the people that you love and the people that surround you, but ultimately you have an opportunity to have a relationship with God and the creator of the universe and everything in it, and you are in control of what you make of that. If you choose not to, God still loves you either way, and He still gives you the opportunity to come back to Him whenever you're ready. I have friends that are atheists. I still love them. I pray for them. I hope that they, get through whatever they're going through. I'll be there for them if they need anything. I don't think any less of them. But, if they came to me one day and they're like, hey, I want to go to church with you, I'd be like, you're more than welcome.
Louis C.K. has a good bit about what a serious wrong it is as an atheist. When like, if God does exist and you're an atheist, he's like, that's got to be, and you like,
but that's the thing.
But the joke is you die and you go to, and you're like, oh fuck, with the beard and everything. Yeah, I'm going.
But that's the thing is he gives you the opportunity to come back because He loves you. Yeah. And He created you. He knew what was going to happen to you before you were even born. He knows every hair on your head.
Heck of an external hard drive on that guy.
Yeah. And that's, I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but that's what changed my whole perspective on it is, I get to have a relationship. It's a friendship. It's a bond. I make mistakes. God knows I'm going to make mistakes. God knows I sin. God knows that I fail. God knows that I succeed. But I give credit to God for the things that I succeed at. I give Him credit for the good days that I have. I give him thanks for all the blessings in my life and for all the things that he's changed in me that were broken before.
Who was it that went to New York and taught the gospel in Korean?
Bryce.
Bryce. Where is he?
He lives in LA right now.
Do you guys, are you in touch at all?
Yeah, we talk quite a bit. Not as much as we used to, obviously, but
Would you say that your faith and his faith are identical, or are they have similarities?
I'm not really sure. Because whenever he and I were together a lot, I was pretty juvenile. I don't know if that's the right word, but I was pretty, like, it just wasn't a huge priority to me. Like, obviously, him and I had conversations about it. You know, I was never an atheist. I believe that
you weren't smoking what he was rolling.
Yeah, like I didn't know where I belonged with that. I'd been in a lot of different religious situations. I had been put into a lot of different, you know, areas in my life of people with different religious backgrounds that I had talked to them and seen their perspective of, but I just never really knew where I belonged. I never really knew how to understand it. And that's back to the relationship thing. That's what, you know, changed my heart. That's God changing my heart, is, you know, me seeing, you know, all the times that I was alone and felt like I didn't have anybody. Yeah. I always had somebody right there. And I didn't know that until then. That's
awesome. We got to move to your final, but I don't want to pull the Jeff Buckley rug out. Is there anything that you were...
So, yeah, it changed me as a vocalist, changed me as a guitar player. Changed, you know, the way that I view a lot of stuff. And another person with covers. I mean, like, Grand Slam. Every cover he ever did. Besides the one Led Zeppelin one on the live album that he did, where he's making fun of it. And I think it was the one that he did live in Olympia. But he's talking about how he used to listen to Zeppelin records at 45 RPM, so it would play fast, and then he literally mocks the whole record, like sounding like a chipmunk. Okay. And I mean, it still sounds cool. Yeah. That's the thing that I think so many people connect with Jeff Buckley on, outside of the fact that he's a unicorn, is that he was just such a beautiful person. He wore his heart on his sleeve. He was fragile, but he was also confident and cocky. He was strong, but he also wasn't afraid to show his weakness. He was loud but quiet, you know, the opposite of everything all at once. Yeah. And he did all of that, you know, in such a short time that, for sure, you know, everybody's just always going to wonder, like, what if? Yeah. And it's always going to break everybody's heart. But I mean, the BBC just did a really, really great special for Jeff Buckley a couple months ago. Nice. It's I think it's over an hour long, but they got Tom York from Radiohead in there talking about it. So Fake Plastic Trees, the Radiohead song, they wrote that after seeing Jeff Buckley for the first time. Whoa. Because they were so inspired. And I didn't know that. I loved Fake Plastic Trees.
A lot of people do.
And then I was like, why do I love that song? And then I heard Tom York say that, and I was like, and I mean, Robert Plant and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin loved him, and they were like his idol. He was in a Zeppelin cover band before he was famous. Nice. And but I mean, the songwriting, absolutely incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible in everything. And Gary Lucas, the guitar player that he worked with, he actually followed my personal account on Instagram, and he followed our band account, which is nuts. Wow. Like, the fact that Gary Lucas, I don't know if he still does or not. It might have been on accident. Right. But the fact that, like, he could even see that we exist and he was a piece of the puzzle for this is just crazy. Lover You Should Have Come Over is one of the most heartbreaking songs of all time. Yeah. Eternal Life, absolutely killer live. If you get the extended version of this, Everybody Here Wants You. Oh my God. It's just so good. Or no. Scratch that before people start commenting. It's not Everybody Here Wants You. It's I Want Someone Badly. Oh, okay. Okay. It's just so good. It's almost like a 50s kind of like slow dance song. Like R&B, kind of like smooth soul. And it's just so good. And it's one of those songs that, like, it ends and you're just like, oh, like, why did it have to stop?
Well, Great stuff. We're gonna leap to 2013. They've come up a few times already. The 1975, first of five, 16 tracks, 50 minutes, back across the pond, Wilmslow, England. Shout out to anyone whose band name is Kerouac inspired. Too cool. Tell me about the moment that you knew that this one had to have a spot on your list for the purposes of our conversation.
This was the easiest choice for me.
Okay.
Out of any of them. This album has defined, just like the Prince album, has just defined so many moments in my life. This was the first new record that I ever bought. I was in a Hastings for like hours trying to find it because they said that they had one on the computer, but we couldn't find it. And then I found it, and it was like $50, and I was like,
dang.
oh. And then I was like, I gotta get it because I've been here too long, so I got it. But like this band, I found them from Guitar Hero.
Really?
Live, yeah. They had it was the newest Guitar Hero that they put out, but the song "Girls" was on it, and that was like one of the first songs that you get, and I was like, this is such a good pop song. Like, it's such a catchy pop song, and they're very heavily Bowie influenced, very heavily Prince influenced, very heavily Michael Jackson influenced. So everything that I love about the 80s is in this band.
That Guitar Hero track was your introduction to them?
Yeah, so
Wow.
I saw that, and then they had another thing in Guitar Hero where it was like MTV, it was music videos, but then you could play the Guitar Hero while it was gone. And I did all of their music videos on there, and it was like shortly after this album came out, I believe.
Okay.
And I fell in love with this band. The music videos that they did, I connected with the music. And
did you say that you and Isaiah have a bond?
yeah, so Isaiah discovered them from the music video Countdown somewhere. He saw the music video for Chocolate, I think.
Okay.
But whenever we met and we started talking about the 1975, because nobody, like, whenever it was closer to 2013, like, if you brought up the 1975, most people around here didn't know about it. And, like, finding somebody that's like, I like the 1975, is just like, what? And they're a newer band that it's the one of the only things I feel like I can connect to, like, my parents' generation with, is like, this is like my band.
How old are your parents?
They're in their 50s. They're both born in 1970. But
So my age.
yeah. But like, this is my band that, like, I've been with since, they started. I've got to see them in their prime. I didn't have to see them at a casino when they're, walking out.
But you don't have a problem going to casino shows.
No, I love it. I love getting to meet any of them.
Yeah.
Anybody that I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't get the opportunity that you guys have to see Van Halen, in their 20s, just absolutely killing it. I don't get to see, I saw Motley Crue, but I didn't get to see Motley Crue.
Right.
This is a band I've gotten to see in their prime.
Nice.
This is a band that I've been with since they were, in the very beginning. And it's just, there's a lot of controversy with the 1975.
Oh, yeah?
Just because Matty Healy, the lead singer, dated Taylor Swift, and that's a whole...
Oh, that's who the Matt is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was actually the last guy to date Taylor Swift before Travis Kelce.
Oh, okay.
And Taylor Swift's whole newest album is pretty much about their situationship over the course of like 10 years. And
Tortured Poets?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's a bunch of songs on there about the lead singer of this band.
Oh.
But it's just their live shows, their fan community for the 1975 is just so close. Like, the last time Isaiah and I saw him, like, this lady passed out in the pit right next to us, and like everybody like helped her up. We got her to the medic, and they helped her out, and then we got her back in, and she enjoyed the rest of the
Was she
show and everything.
because of substance abuse or because she had her mind blown?
I'm not sure. It was actually like right before the show, like right at the very beginning of the show. But we had, like I said, we had to wait in the rain for the second show. So when we got in there, it was just a bunch of people that were soaking wet standing in the Sprint Center, and it was just so humid in there, and we're all like shoulder to shoulder in the pit, and we were like third or fourth row from the front. And it was just
These guys play T-Mobile?
yeah, they played T-Mobile in 2024, and then we saw them at Cable Dahmer Arena in 2022. That was the first time that we saw them, and that was just
That's a big leap.
it was
That's
just
5,500 seats to 19,000.
yeah, and it sold out.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I had to get the pit tickets for it. I had to get pre-sale. I had like 4 pre-sale links. I was sitting on a job site at work, literally like watching it tick down. Buy. I didn't even look at how much it was. I just gotta have it. I was like, we gotta be there, because I would have got to see him. I didn't get to see him on this tour, and their second album, I could have seen them. I had the chance, but nobody would go with me, and I was too young to go to a concert by myself. Because I was like 13, 14, and it was at Starlight, and it was just like we lived in St. Joe at the time, so it was a whole drive. And
Once you are of age, though, there's zero shame in a movie or a concert or a comedy show solo.
I saw
shame.
Kansas by myself in St. Joe. I bought the very last ticket, and it was packed house at the Missouri Theater.
Nice.
And it was awesome.
Well, awesome list. I don't want to cut you short on the 1975, but we're rolling up on 4 hours, and I know I've had some technical difficulties, my own fault a few times. I know one time a camera like went a little haywire beyond the 4 hour mark, so I don't want to have that happen here. So we're gonna steer it to the last little bit here.
Check this album out. Not a skip on it. And last thing with them is each of us in the band, we really like bands that don't stick to one genre. Same with Jeff Buckley. Same with Prince.
Yeah.
Because it's just that
You guys into Beck?
liberty. Yeah, I like Beck. Yeah,
Beck's cool.
he's cool.
What about? No, I won't even go there. So how I like to finish is I'll hit you with a series of goofy questions, and then we'll wrap and get you. You got a drive ahead of you.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
You are given the opportunity to have lunch with anybody of your choosing, dead or alive. Who and why?
I would probably pick Jeff Buckley.
I was gonna say if it's not Jeff Buckley.
Well, I would say Prince, but I read in one of the books that they wrote about him, like the guy who ended up doing like the editing for the book met with him, and it was just like I've known 2 people that have got to meet Prince, and it's just like you don't know what to do because it's Prince.
Right.
Like I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It would just be awkward.
Yeah. You want to play some basketball?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just.
Um,
I feel like Jeff Buckley would be really cool
That's a
to
good
sit
one.
down and just talk
So
to.
if we can pretend or imagine that we all have a personal and a professional bucket list. Let's say you're given all the necessary resources to knock out number 1 on both of those lists. What are your number 1s?
Like for all life or like in the year?
All life.
Does it have to be like a statistic goal or just like a...
Sometimes they're one and the same, the personal and the professional, and sometimes they're not. But no, just a thing that you would like to accomplish, achieve, experience, do.
Well, and music-wise, I like to use this David Bowie quote a lot. I think I've actually used it in every interview I've ever done.
How many interviews have you done?
I think this is like my 4th one.
Okay.
Like fourth maybe.
Okay.
This is my first in-person one. But he said, I forget what interview it was. I completely forget actually 100% what he said, but it was like they asked him why he wanted to be famous, or like what it was like, or what's the purpose of it. And he's like, I don't want to be famous. I don't care about being famous, but having the ability to have access to anything creatively that you need whenever you want it was his favorite thing about being famous. If he had an idea, if he couldn't do it, he could have somebody come in and be a session worker that did it with him. He could have an engineer come in and mix it that way. And he had people that wanted to, that believed in him. Like that's something when it comes to fame, like I care about that. I don't care about being famous. But on the other side of that, I want to connect with people through music. I want to connect with people personally at shows
Me too.
and make friends with them. I want to, be, like I was saying earlier, like be a good influence on people, help lead people the best that I can,
Cool, man.
and connecting with my songwriting. Just anything that I've gone through. There've been times that I've just talked to people after shows, and like just even just playing like a coffee shop, and you have the opportunity to change somebody's life just with a song.
Yeah.
And that's it's kind of cheesy to say that, I guess, but
No.
it's just, it's a big opportunity that you get every single time one hits your brain.
Right.
And that could be the one that, gets it for everybody.
Yeah.
And now that there's 4 of us in it, like I want to do the best I can for everybody else that's involved, because all of us put so much into it. And same with all the other artists in Kansas City and in the world. I love the stuff that they're putting on with the industry meetings. I'm not able to make it to all of them just because it's a drive.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to build a community with that, of people that support each other, especially when it's kind of intimidating and it's easy to get ignored with emails and stuff. I used to send out hundreds of emails trying to book shows, and all you have to do is just build a connection.
Yeah.
Your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And I value building connections with people. And
So that's your professional. Is there a personal one too, or are they one and the same?
personal is just, living a life that, that glorifies God, and trying to be the best I can every day for me and my family.
I love it.
That's long and short of personal
Good
goal.
stuff. You're given the opportunity to visit your past self at any age you're choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
The Wiggles concert in the oh man, I don't know. There's just, life is so crazy. And I was thinking about this the other day, of like all the things that you wished for when you're younger, you either get to see them come true or you grow out of it, Like you either make that happen or you grow out of it and it evolves to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that like just fascinating?
Yeah.
Like the things that I dreamed of, the goals that I had, completely different now.
Yeah.
And the goals that I set now, whether they're going to morph into something greater or if, it's going to become something completely else, I don't know.
Yeah.
But as far as going back in time,
And this is not supposed to be shrouded in regret and we're changing our life pattern. No, it's just maybe
just to see it.
maybe a tiny little modicum of advice or a pat on the back, or you're doing a good job. Whatever the thing may be, is there a thing for you?
Well, Isaiah and I say a lot of like, especially when we play something big, like if it's like this Josie show, I've dreamed about this show that we're playing this week. I hope that it doesn't snow so that we can have the best turnout possible for it. But I've literally wanted to play this show since that day that I walked in there.
Wow.
This has been years in the making, and I am just elated for the opportunity for it. But a lot of times, like we try to hold each other accountable for living in the moment, because we're both pretty bad at it.
Fair.
Just like, you got to catch yourself.
Yeah.
And be like, this is special. The first time our song got played on the radio, we stayed up till we were on like the midnight to 2 a.m. block, and it was after our band practice, and we stayed up until it came on.
What show?
It was on KKFI. I forget what show it was, but yeah, one of the disc jockeys hit us up and was like, "Hey, I like your song."
Do you remember which one?
I'd have to look. The song was down. The
No,
live
which DJ?
I'd have to look at our messages to get.
How long ago?
Maybe a month or two ago.
Oh, was it Ian Hollowell, Cheeto Flow?
Maybe.
Thursday. He does Thursday morning, midnight to 2.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
I forget exactly. I can check it, but yeah, it was. That was. We got to do a radio interview at the very beginning of last year with one of my friends that was a college radio host, and that was super cool. But it was kind of something like this where we got to pick out some songs and we just talked about it. And
he did. If it winds up being him, he did episode 59.
Oh, really?
DJ Flow is Astral is in the name of the radio program, but
yeah, I'd have to check.
Yeah. Anyway, Astral Connection, something like that. Okay, so you're holding yourself. You guys you're holding one another accountable to be in the moment. So does that mean there's not a past self that you're visiting or a thing that you're saying?
Just going back and and some of the times that I thought things were gonna be over for certain things in my life, just being able to go back and be like, hey, just keep pushing.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's gonna grow into something great.
Cool. So I cheated, and question number 4 is true or false. It's okay to wear the T-shirt of the band whose show you're going to. Absolutely.
It's okay to listen to him on the way there. Listen to him in the parking lot. Wear the shirt. Wear the hat.
Okay.
Wear the patch. Wear the necklace.
Right on. Please complete this for me. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live, if only.
People loved each other like they love themselves.
Boom. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Lucas, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. Sentimental Creatures is on SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook.
All streaming platforms.
Everything. And you've got the show that unfortunately will have happened by the time this is out, coming up at Josie. But what other endeavors is Sentimental Creatures tackling in 2025?
Hoping to do a lot of recording. Get some singles out.
Okay.
Hoping to really kind of grow in Kansas City. We want to grow into Kansas City, grow into Lawrence, play some shows, meet some new people. We're trying to work with some other bands and kind of build up a group that we can all just kind of book together.
Heck yeah.
and build some consistency with that. Lots of hopefully entertaining social media content.
There you go.
I've been working hard researching, trying to do stuff that people are going to dig and that's fun for us to do too at the same time.
Any plugs?
Like for brands and stuff?
For you, your band?
We're going to hopefully have merch out this year.
Okay.
So that'll be in our link tree.
Which is in your IG bio.
Yeah, it's in every bio that we got.
Okay.
If you join our Facebook fan community page, you get like some behind the scenes stuff.
Fun.
We do YouTube video vlogs for every day that we have a show.
Oh, cool.
So you can see everybody's perspective of that too.
You guys throwing stuff up on the old TikTok?
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok's tough.
Yeah, takes time.
And then also with our Spotify, we've got this thing that we've been working on. You've probably seen it if you look at our account. But we do playlists curated by each member of the band.
Oh, yeah.
And each of us get to pick like 20-something songs every month that we are listening to, that we like. And we alternate
20 songs a month for each of you?
And we listen to it and we put it up. It's like 20-something songs or less. It's however many anybody wants to put on.
Okay.
But we change those out every month for new stuff that we're listening to that we think's cool or that's stuck in our heads or that's influencing our writing. And that's just something we kind of try to do to interact with people, but also show what we're up to.
Yeah.
And then we also have the inspiration playlist, which is like 300 hours of music of just stuff that's influenced us.
Nice. Very nice. Is there anything that you had hoped that we would cover that we didn't?
No, this has been great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been a lot of fun. I really
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And like I said, pleasure to meet you. Great conversation. I didn't ever anticipate, feeling like I got to hustle. But, if something happens, which, like I said, has happened, it's gone forever. Yeah, and it's like, wait, for what? Smithville with crazy people and the weather and, well, sorry. That, you know what I mean? So
it happens.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Talk to you soon.